All right. Good morning. How are you going?
Good, mate. How are you?
Very well. Ready to get into UFC Macau?
Sure am, mate.
What's your thoughts on the overall card before we get into it? Any thoughts?
That's all right. Like, I like the main card a bit. There's some pretty banger fights in there.
Mm.
Um, there was one fight that was called off that I was most keen for. But
Was that was the Bin G, whatever his name was, right?
yeah, Shinbi against Kanji Zhu.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking forward to that one as well. What did it get called off for? Did you say?
No clue.
Yeah, right.
So it was cancelled.
Yeah, weird. All right, let me share my screen and then we will get into this. So, where is this one? You can see that, all right?
Yep, man. It's good.
Beautiful. All right, so our first fight on the card that we're going to break down is Maheshate, who's taking on Nicholas Motta. Price wise, let's have a look. Maheshate sitting at roughly minus 210, and then we've got the comeback on Motta plus 175, 180 around there. So, do you want me to lead this one?
I can take this if you want. Like,
Go for it.
yeah. So these are two fighters I'm not really high on. I'll start with my Shate. He's high volume, mixes it up with a variety of different strikes. And he never stops working, always in position to attack and counter. He just doesn't have great technique, especially that right hand he throws. Like it's thrown so it's like he's rolling that punch, and he stands a little upright, doesn't move his head, but he does have a lot of power for the division, and he's pretty quick. Despite his activity, he has very low accuracy at 28%. Like in a win against Gabriel Benitez, he landed 97 out of 312 strikes. And he was outlanded by Benitez as well. So that's a fight recently that went the full 15. I think that went the full 15.
Yeah,
Yeah,
split.
split decision. You shouldn't be going to split decision with Gabriel Benitez.
No, should not.
He somehow has a win over Steve Garcia, which has aged incredibly. But like you have 10 or 15 iterations of that fight. That result happens like maybe once or twice. Like I wouldn't put too much into that. But he still got a win over Steve Garcia. Nicholas Motta, like I said, another fighter I'm not too high on. His UFC run has included 2 KO wins, one over Tom Nolan, who's proved to be chinny, and Cameron Van Camp, who is now in bare knuckle fighting championships, and I think he's lost twice.
And Diana Belbita, but
Yeah, and the Annabelle Vita. So Motta has 2 losses in the UFC. Should really be 3. He has a KO loss to Jim Miller, one to Manuel Torres, and a no contest, which should have been a submission loss to Trey Ogden. Mike Beltran, I don't know what it was thinking, stopping that way too.
I remember that like the back of my hand. I'm pretty sure I had Ogden by either money line or sub as well. I can't remember.
Yeah, I had something on that as well. But
Yeah, horrific watch.
oh no. So Motta, compared to Maheshate, he's a little more easy on the eyes technique-wise. Actually has his like hands up, stands in a solid stance. He'll throw a leg kick here and there from distance, but offensively operates in the pocket, and he covers distance by like using leaping in hooks. He does have a lot of power himself, but he's very predictable. Like he always throws the same straight right into a left hook combo all the time. It seems to be an ingrained reaction in his game. But he is good at landing that combo. He landed that on what's his name, Manuel Torres, a few times. Motta, he leaves his head in the center line during exchanges, and this is really this is his downfall. This is how he gets knocked out. Whenever he's trying to time a counter, like with Jim Miller, he just got absolutely bodied. And when he's throwing at the same time as his opponents, he gets like with Manuel Torres, he just gets destroyed, like flatlined. And yeah, so both fighters, they're very hittable, but I think Moda can absolutely land a counter right and left hook combo on him. But I do lean Mahashate throwing a straight right punch at the same time as Moda throws a loopy punch and landing right on the chin while Moda is a little bit. This fight to me at these numbers is a dog or pass. I do not like Mahashate at minus 210, even though I feel he wins. But if honestly, if Moda's price keeps getting higher, I think I'll play it. That's really it. But yeah, no real interest.
Yeah, yeah, nice. It's a very similar breakdown to mine. Um, so I'll start with Mahashate. So yeah, like you said, orthodox kickboxer. I think he just honestly he just likes to fight on the outside. He likes to sort of just pick at you from kicking range. I think he's definitely more effective when he goes first because he's so hittable. He'll attack both your head and your body pretty well with his punches. Striking defense is just really, really poor. He doesn't read shots well. He gets caught with timing in close really often. He's just a super hittable guy overall, and I think anyone with decent boxing fundamentals will expose this, especially if they're able to go first and third. Um, I've literally never seen his head move defensively, which is insane. He's shown to be like pretty durable so far, but he's also shown that he's live to get clipped as well. Um, in his fight with Benitez, he looked a lot more sort of settled in his stance than he had previously. I don't know if that's the coaching slightly altering his style or just a coincidence, but just something I noticed. He throws the front kick up the middle pretty well, which could have success in this fight, given how Motta likes to duck his head and go into combos. And like you said in your one, I still can't believe this guy KO'd Garcia. I think it's just such like an unreal result. If they fight 10 times, that'll probably happens like what once or twice maybe.
That was the ones.
Yeah. He is also two from two against Southpaws, which is just something to note as well. On to Nicholas Motta, pretty stationary, orthodox boxer. Will occasionally use the low leg kick to get his opponent to stay in range. You know, if they like to bounce around the outside, but for the most part, he's a pretty technical, offensive boxer who just likes to move forward and throw combinations in the pocket. I don't think he's amazing at all, but he's relatively athletic. He's got powerful hands. And to me, he feels like a confidence style fighter, similar to what I was mentioning about Jonathan Martinez last week. Like, if he has success early, he can probably put you in some trouble. But I do think if you give him things to think about, like a jab in his face, you know, while you're out on the outside, or even a takedown early, he isn't as effective. I think Trey Ogden showed that pretty well, where he just mixed. Like, I don't think Trey Ogden is necessary. I don't think he's a better striker than Motta technically, but he was able to just mix in the kicks and a little bit of takedown, clinching, all the mixed martial arts, and just sort of got in the head of Motta. In saying that, I do think Ogden's defense is 100 times better than Mahashate. He's just way more defensively everywhere. And Motta is also a much more effective striker if he's the one going forward. I actually think Motta has like a relatively dangerous style versus a guy like Mahashate. My overall take on the fight is pretty close, low-level fight overall, but I do think Motta's technical boxing style and his defensive shell is probably going to give Mahashate relative issues if he can land in the pocket. And given how defensively irresponsible we've seen Mahashate being so far, I think there's a pretty big chance that happens. Like when I was capping the fight, I was thinking, okay, Mahashate, yeah, he's got like relative size advantage. They've got an inch difference in reach, and Motta's also fought longer, bigger guys before and had success. So I'm pretty confident in capping this one, like maybe 50-50, if not like a touch the Mahashate side favoured. But I like violence here or Motta TKO potentially. I think Motta's line is pretty wide, and I haven't played it yet. But like you said, if it keeps drifting, definitely going to be interested because I don't really understand how Mahashate covers minus 210.
No way.
Yeah, it's
There's
strange.
A few players in here that I don't know covers like these big lines.
It does feel like one of those cards where he might not cover his price, but he could potentially just edge like a gross decision.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't played this one yet, but I do think he's a really good look. Another thing I just noticed, he's got the nickname Iron, and Mike Iron Tyson and Mike Iron Chandler have gone 0 from 2 in the last week. Maybe he'll be going 0 from 3.
There we go.
We'll find out. But I think this one will be a really good fight. What's that?
Do you like the unders?
Not really. I just had a look. It's set at 1.5. I don't. Yeah. I don't. Minus over 1.5, minus 145, under 1.5, plus 115. I don't love 1.5 line personally.
Yeah, same.
Fight ends inside the distance is minus 200. Maybe that's a parlay piece. But it's a good fight. I just wouldn't trust Mahashar take this number personally.
Yeah. And like if you putting your money on Motor, like you always got to worry about the chin.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think he's like super like chinny. Like that Manuel Torres one, mate, that wouldn't have knocked a bear out. That would have knocked a horse out. That stepping elbow was ridiculous. And he was also touching Manuel Torres up in that fight too. Like I don't know if Mahashate will be able to take some of the shots that Torres took in that one.
Yeah, that's what something I noticed as well.
Van Camp, I mean, he's just dog shit everywhere. And the Miller fight, like he was competing pretty well to that second round. So I don't think it's necessarily, and that was his first fight in the UFC, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's just so open to be hit. Like if Mahashate can knock out a Steve Garcia.
Yeah. We haven't seen his power like recently though. Like not knocking Benitez out. That's a pretty bad look.
Yeah.
So
and landing that many strikes compared to attempted strikes is not a good look as well.
Yeah, I suppose he's only 24, 25, so maybe he's developing. But yeah, I'm not really high on either of these guys. Anyway, all right. So let's get into this next one. Just refresh this next bout page. So this is one I know you're pretty happy with, or pretty keen to get involved with. We've got also, before we get too deep into this, I just want to say I and you also are probably going to butcher a lot of these Chinese Asian names on this card. So anyone who's watching, please have forgiveness. And we do not mean anything by it. We just are dumb Australians, and that's it.
Yeah.
So in this one, we've got Long Zhao taking on Quang Li. Quang Li is coming off the back of that short notice loss to Chris Gutierrez, and Zhao Long is coming off the back of a split decision loss to Chang Ho Lee that was his UFC debut. So price wise, we've got Long. It's pretty close to a pick 'em. Long Zhao slight favorite, 120 minus 120, and Quang Li plus 100 plus 105 potentially. You can lead this one because I know you are pretty confident have a bet on this one. So take it away.
Yeah, I already secured a bet a few days ago when I saw that it was exactly a pick'em, but I was very surprised to see where the line has moved in some books. Anyways, so Long Zhao, he's got a record of 26 wins, 9 losses. He lost his Dana White Contender Series fight to Christian Quinones a few years ago. He went back and won a few regional fights and then won 2 fights in the Road to UFC in 2023, and then made his debut for the Road to UFC final against Chang Ho Lee earlier this year in Saudi Arabia, where he lost by split decision. So I'm watching this guy fight, and I honestly do not see him beating anyone that's currently in the UFC bantamweight division. I feel he has reached his ceiling winning entertaining fights regionally. I don't see too many improvements between that Dana White Contender Series fight and his UFC debut, which is 3 years apart. In his last fight against Chang Li, Long Zhao looked to have improved his grappling, and he actually seemed like the better fighter, but he was immediately gassed. And Chang Ho Lee was gassed as well, but Lee's knees in the clinch sapped Long Zhao's tank. Oh, God, these names are really going to kill me.
These are some of the easier ones too.
I know. There's one later on that I don't even know if I'm going to attempt. There are good aspects of Long Zhao's game. He has good pressure. he can take a punch. And when opponents are being purely defensive and retreating, he does nice work. And if it's a fight where him and his opponent are equally as tired in a scrappy fight, this is where he thrives. In saying that, there are plenty of holes in his game. Like he has his hands up to chest level. He keeps a tall posture, and he doesn't move his head in exchanges. But from distance, he just meaninglessly like bobs and weaves. I think a good head kick will catch him like eventually. He also cannot defend jabs and straight shots. He just eats them and then swings back right away as a response. Like Quinonez, who he's a decent striker, not the best, but he had an absolute field day with these straight shots and hurt him multiple times. Grappling wise, he's decent against opponents who are clearly not versed in grappling, but if they are active off their back or defending the takedowns or have a good get up game, it very clearly affects his gas tank. So he's up against Quang Li, who is 8-1. He is the older fighter by 7 years, yet he has a quarter of the experience. So Long Zhao has 26 was 9, 35 fights. Am I doing all right?
Yep, that's 35, yeah.
35 fights. Night shift. And Lee has 9 fights. So Lee does have an extensive amateur experience from 2015 to 2020, and he went undefeated as a pro all the way till his UFC debut against Chris Gutierrez. So I honestly put so much more stock on Quang Li's regional experience over Long Zhao's, as the majority of Lee's pro fights were in the LFA, and his last 3 wins in that organization actually had like decent records from camps. So Lee was meant to be on Dana White Contender Series before getting a call to make his debut against Chris Gutierrez due to one of the Basharat brothers pulling out. Don't know if it's the better one or the other one. But yeah, he was clearly outgunned skill-wise by the crafty kickboxer. No shame, really. Like Lee hung in there and fought till the final bell. He did even snag a round from him.
Did he win was it the 3rd round?
I think it was the 2nd or 3rd where he had his back.
Yeah, he mixed in some wrestling. He'd got the takedown, right?
Yeah. So I remember having a bet on Chris Gutierrez in that fight, and I did get a little bit sweaty at one point.
Yeah, and Gutierrez was like a huge favorite, right? He was like, fuck, he was massive.
Massive, yeah. I had him to close out a parlay. So
yeah.
So I'm watching Lee's LFA fights prior to his debut, and Lee showed many good things. Like he's patient, has good awareness of range, good hand defense and guard, and has tight boxing combos with clean technique. His last fight in the LFA was against Tiao Tan, where he showed off boxing that actually reminded me of Jack Della Maddalena.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I'm not even kidding. It reminded me of
Quang Li.
Yeah.
Oh, clip that. Someone clip that.
It sounds dumb, but it does remind me of
Someone clip that. He's just said he's got boxing like JDM. I need that clipped.
I didn't say it. It was like it reminded me.
I need that clip now.
Anyways, he doesn't overcommit. He doesn't move around too much. Generates power by like slightly bending the knees when he plants his feet, and he scored a KO in the first with a tight straight right and left hook combo. Something Jack Della Maddalena would absolutely like catch someone with.
No comment.
Look, we'll move on. Outside of that, his opponent Cody Peterson came rushing at him from the opening bell with wild strikes, and Lee slowed down the pace by initiating grappling. And once he got him into his range, he threw a head kick that knocked him out. And that's how I see this fight going. So I did tape on Long Zhao first, and afterwards I said to myself, all right, if his opponent wasn't that good skillfully, but actually had like process on the feet and good cardio, I'll probably lean him. But to my surprise, I actually really liked what I saw from Quang Li and genuinely enjoyed taping his fights. Like I said, this fight will be going similarly to that Cody Peterson fight, where Long Zhao will be aggressive early, looking to apply pressure and overwhelm Lee, but Lee will get this fight to his pace by weathering the storm, establishing his range, or he can close distance and clinch up just like what he did in that fight. And when Lee is fatigued, which he will be fatigued, at least by round 2 if it gets there, I think Lee will land a simple boxing combo like that straight right and left hook, or really something simple. Like Lee is Long Xiao is just so easy to hit, and I see him dropping him and finishing him. So for safety, I think a Quang Lee in the distance is a bet I will look at. I already put 2 units on his money line, but an in the distance bet will cover a club and sub. But yeah, um, yeah, nothing more else to say. I don't think Long Xiao is any good, and I'm surprised to see that he's a favorite at the moment. It's a very slight favorite.
Yeah, yeah, nice, great breakdown. I tend to agree with you. And since we're doing uh, comparisons, I'll tell you who I think Long Jiao reminds me of. A much shitter Song Yadong. And I know that he's not because he's just Chinese. He's his style that he sort of fights with. It's like, he's very explosive. Likes to sort of jump in and out of range. His style's very looks wise, very reminiscent to Song Yadong, but much shitter and much less effective.
Much less
Um,
audio too.
yes, yeah. I look when I taped his fight, I came to the same conclusion as you. I didn't think he was good, particularly anywhere, and I don't think he has a very high ceiling. Um, like he's okay everywhere, I guess. He's just not good anywhere, which is the issue. He's kind of just a real nothing guy everywhere. I think his takedown defense is relatively good. Like he had good counter grappling in his last fight with Chang Ho Lee. He looked like he knew how to win underhooks really well and sort of stuff the takedown. He also fought that fight at versus Lee at like a pretty good pace, I'd say. It was a pretty grueling style of fight where it was in and out of the clinch the whole time. I didn't think physically or cardio wise it was the worst look, but like he's a fine striker on the outside, orthodox kickboxer. He's young, he's athletic. I think he is probably improving. I just don't rate him. I don't rate him. Like you said, I don't think his style's good. I don't think he has good process on the feet. I don't think he'll be able to mix in wrestling. And then onto Quang Lee, kind of the same vibe as well. Where I didn't think he was particularly great anywhere, but probably better everywhere than Longxia. Um, I think his process on the feet is pretty well, like you said. He's got good power. I also think he is really coachable and responds to advice really well. I think it was in the Gutierrez fight where he was getting his leg chewed off, and his corner sort of said to him, "You've got to get the takedown. You've got to do this and do that to get this fight to the ground." And he went out there and he did it straight away, and he won a round, which to me is like a really good look. He's a little bit low volume on the feet at times for me. Can be caught watching a little bit. Um, yeah, it's hard not to put a little bit of stock in him slowing down in the Gutierrez fight, but you got to notice that he took that on short notice. Obviously, got the leg chewed up as well, so I think you can take that with a little bit of a pinch of salt. He'll look for takedowns. He'll mix him in. I don't think he's like an amazing pure wrestler, but the fact that he mixes it in just to change things up and give people different looks, that's a good sign to me. In terms of his speed, probably going to be at a speed of it disadvantage versus Long Jiao, but pretty clear that he's got good power, and if he lands, could give some issues to Long Jiao. My overall notes on this one, again, pretty close overall fight and a low ceiling type of fight. I think Long Jiao be at a speed advantage, but I think Quang Lee's the more intelligent fighter. He's a little bit less physically gifted, but he's smarter. He's fought better competition. He's going to compete with his frame here. He's got better UFC experience. So yeah, like you, I'd be pretty happy. I haven't played him yet. I don't know what do you think his price is going to end up?
I saw him at $2, so plus 100.
Because he opened at minus 170, and he came into about plus 105, went back out to minus 110. So it seems like he's drifting around that slight dog mark.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder if it'll
I
go.
thought it was going to be the complete opposite. That's why I locked it in.
Yeah, I mean, someone's clearly hammered Long Zhao early because he opened plus 145, and now he's come in to be the slight favourite. So someone is liking him. Not sure who or why, but someone is.
Maybe they see like the experience. Or
Yeah, mate, could be that.
I've like put so much more stock in like 9 fights like in America.
Yeah, 100%.
And some amateur experience in America than like all those Chinese promotions.
Especially being on a big LFA promotion, it's a good look.
Yeah.
I don't think, and we'll probably talk about it, but a lot of these road to UFC guys, they're not. I don't know if you've noticed this, but they're not finishers. Like a lot of them on their road to UFC, it's all like really close splits and close decisions and stuff like that. Not a lot of them really separate that well. And I think Long Jiao is another one of those guys who Quang Lee could just put like wear on and just have success. So I think I'll get to a bet on him at some point, but I'm probably just keep an eye on the price and just go from there. I think.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on in the distance.
Yeah.
That's maybe a little sprinkle. But.
And now to the next one. I'm actually really keen for this fight.
Same.
This is a really good fight. Two pretty talented guys who I think have a pretty good ceiling in the sport, and I'm excited for this one. So we've got Loney Kavanagh coming off Dana White's Contender Series, where he got a knockout against Antoine Ho, who we actually played and just didn't look good at all there. And yeah, anyway, and then
I thought we were up to something there.
yeah. And then Jose Ochoa, who's coming from Shooter Box Diego Lima, and he's taking this one. Is he I think he's a replacement, right?
I don't think so.
No, this was made.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was made. Yeah.
Okay, and price-wise, we have Loney Kavanagh at a pretty big, steep price of -355, taking on Jose Ochoa, who's sitting currently at about plus 280. So I might start this one off. So we'll start with Loney Kavanagh. As I said, I did try and fade him on Dana White's Contender Series, but he did really impress me with that performance. He's got a very footwork-oriented style where he likes to bounce in and out of range. I don't think he's immune to taking damage, but he is pretty good defensively. Lots of head movement. He's obviously the footwork, and he's got ability to slip shots really well. I think what his best kind of asset is that he's got very unconventional timing. He just seems to catch a lot of people off guard with his explosive kickboxing entries. I think he might be a rarity of a fighter with proper KO power in his hands at flyweight. We don't see it very often, but when we do, we see it have quite a lot of success. He can fight moving forward and moving backwards as well, which I like. His left hook has hurt a heap of fighters. I'd say it's probably his best shot. He'll fight out of both stances. I believe he's around a purple belt, maybe a brown belt now. So pure submissions aren't particularly his game. He's definitely more of a striker. So on to Jose Ochoa, Peruvian-born kickboxer fighting out of Brazil with Shooter Box, as I said. In his most recent LFA fight, it looked like he found it kind of hard to track down Pantoja's footwork. It made him slightly uncomfortable by the looks of it. He has and we see it with guys out of this camp all the time, he's just got a very Shooter Box style where he likes to move forward, kickbox you, while looking to be aggressive and throwing sort of wild, flying style shit, really. He's not amazing, but he wants to finish the fight. I don't know if that's going to help him or it's going to hurt him here. I think he's pretty talented, man, overall. He's only a young guy as well. I'd say he's a touch more defensively aware than some of the main Shooter Box guys. But yeah, I think he's pretty talented. This is a really good fight. I think Loney Kavanagh is probably the better overall fighter right now. He's faster, he's more technical, he's got more process and more power. I think he should win, but the line definitely feels a bit wide to me on two guys who are on debut in their UFC debut. But I think Loney Kavanagh will win for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all of that. So Peruvian fighter training out of Diego Lima's Shooter Box camp. All his wins are by finish, and this is his biggest step up in competition. Like, fights out of both stances, but mostly out of southpaw. Uses reach and advantage well, as he's like much taller than most flyweights, and he's good at finding counters. And Yeah, just reaching people with his long range. When clinched up, he grabs hold of the tie clinch, unloads knees that breaks down the opponent's body, and then looks to attack chokes there. Overall, I really, really like his game. I really thought they were going to match up Kavanagh
A
with
scrub.
an absolute scrub.
Me
And
too.
going into this, I was like, okay, Jose Ochoa, undefeated. But yeah, as I dived into his tapes, he's actually like pretty good. And yeah, I'm pretty sure you covered everything that I had noted down on Lone Kavanagh. Like really, really big talent from Cage Warriors. And yeah, he's making strides both in his striking and his grappling, it seems. I'm still a little concerned about his striking defense. Like at times he looks a bit hittable, but he's only like what, 25?
Mm.
Yeah, and Jose Ochoa is 23, so like whether he wins or loses this fight, he's definitely going to be gaining some really good experience. So this is by far not really a walk in the park for Lonier Kavanagh on paper in terms of the skill level of the Jose Ochoa side. This is definitely not a layup. If Kavanagh doesn't get him out of there early, he may actually have his hands full. But one thing about Kavanagh is that he has not only defeated most of his opponents in spectacular fashion, but his last 5 fights were against opponents with 0 losses. And he finished 3 of them, and he won by clear unanimous decision on the other 2. Ocho, on the other hand, his last fight was against an undefeated opponent, yes, but the other fighters before that had records of 4-4, 2-3, and 2-3. So I just think Kavanagh coming in with such momentum, so many weapons, and he has that great equalizer in his power he generates, like for a flyweight.
A small one too. He's 5'4".
Yeah, 5'4", and he has that much power. Like, crazy.
Weird.
It's hard to imagine Kavanagh losing in this spot, to be honest. But I can absolutely see a fight that plays out surprisingly close at times, especially if it's extended. But I'm really hoping that he gets this done in the distance, maybe in the second or third. Like Ochoa, he may have never been finished before, but I feel he has defensive tendencies of leaning back, which it may work in regional levels, but it'll be a read that Kavanagh will make. Otherwise, Kavanagh is so sharp with his counters and lethal with his first and third attacks, like leaping in and
Dude, the way he put that off button on Antoine Ho in Dana White's Contender Series was pretty scary.
yeah, crazy, right?
Yeah, the way he just like leaped in, it didn't even look like it looked hit him clean, but it didn't look that powerful. And he was just the guy was in La La Land for about like a couple of minutes. He was Gonski.
Yeah, he was completely out.
He was in a really bad way.
Yeah, but yeah, I think Kavanagh gets this done in the distance, but it may not be a easy fight.
Yeah, I think it's favorite or pass, but I wouldn't play. I wouldn't play him personally. It's just too wide for a guy debut.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out Covert Bets.
Yeah, I just saw that chat come in. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
All right, so on to the next one. We have. Oh god, this is gonna test me. I don't actually think this is the next fight, but since we're going off Tapology order,
This is the name that I practiced this name like a few times in the car, but I just can't get it.
we've got Carlos Hernandez taking on Niam Jargal. Two men Demenda Burrell.
Niam Jaga Timinam Juro.
Timonem Demburrell. I'm just going to call him Demburrell.
Timidembarel.
That'll do.
I think that sounds right.
You can lead us off with this one, brother.
Thanks, mate. Okay, I'll start with the easier name to pronounce, Carlos Hernandez. He is 9 wins and 4 losses. 30 years old. He's 5'5", 67 reach. He's 2-3 in his UFC run. His 2 wins are against Dennis Bondar and Victor Altamirano. And yeah, in his Dana White Series,
I'll just cut in quickly. Sorry, price is minus 200 for Hernandez, and the other bloke is plus 180.
Plus 180.
Yeah,
minus 200. Yeah, sweet. Yeah, in his Dana White Contender Series fight, he beat Daniel Barres, and his 3 losses were to Ray Soruya, Tetsuro Taira, and Alan Nascimento. So he may not have the best record, but he's definitely a skilled fighter on the feet, like who's just gotten the bad end of favorable matchmaking for grapple heavy prospects. Like Hernandez, he moves well around the cage, moves laterally, feinting and jabbing, and comes in with quick boxing combos before angling out. He has a nice check hook and has fast kicks that he whips out with like pretty good power. Sharp counters as well when opponents come in, and he turns it into extended combinations. Like his career best performance was easily against Dennis Bondar, where he really showed his potential, and he was actually like technically so sound in that for the full 15 minutes, and he was robbed of his first KO win. Like instead, do you remember that?
I absolutely remember that. That should have been a KO for sure.
Yeah.
He killed Dennis Bondar.
Yeah, it was just as he was taking him down, I think their heads just separated, and then it was like a little bit of a headbutt.
I think he landed the nastiest elbow on the way down.
That was brutal. Yeah, so in that fight, he did get taken down twice quite easily, however, but he also defended 3 attempts and got 2 takedowns of his own. So I think he is improving there, but he's got a while to go. Other than his clear disadvantage in the grappling, he can be backed up against the cage, and sometimes he has too much fun and gets carried away exchanging in the pocket. He can be prone to catching overhands as he does back out of range, like with his hands down. And his opponent, Neam Jungle Tumadumbrel.
Nailed it.
Yeah, Neam Jungle Tumadumbrel, undefeated fighter from Mongolia, who has won 2 titles in regional MMA organizations in Mongolia and Japan, and here he makes his UFC debut. So he won his 2 fights in Road to the Octagon, one by split decision against Topnoy Kiram, which I think he should have probably lost that fight, and he won a submission against Peter Denesso in round 1. So he starts his fights fast and pressures from the get-go. He throws heavy overhands in succession as he advances forward, will crash into the pocket as opponents are against the fence, where he either shoots for a takedown, grabs a clinch, throwing knees and uppercuts, or tees off with wild swings and kicks. Like all his punches are thrown with full power, but once he misses these shots, he's completely off balance and he's like tripping forward. With a style like this, he does lose his explosive power and energy when fights get extended. And though he continues to just move forward and swing, his movements are clearly labored and his already sloppy style becomes sloppier. He's just a wild fighter who just lacks technically in pretty much all aspects of his game. And he's gotten away with that for the most part, overwhelming inexperienced low-level opponents and getting them to the ground and finishing them. So in this fight, I'm taking Carlos Hernandez here to give a veteran lesson. I know Hernandez is barely a vet, but he does have 5 fights against actual like good UFC level competition. The first round will have Hernandez on the back foot early while Tumadembaral is fresh. And for the most part, I see him like avoiding the big swings, like by angling off, using his footwork, his head movement. And though I do think Hernandez will find himself against the fence at some point, and this will be Tumadembaral's best opportunity to either catch him with wild strikes or take him to the ground. But despite Hernandez's weakness being on the ground, I think he'll be able to keep clear of danger of being subbed here if he does get taken down. Like Tumadembaral is pretty rough, like in exchanges, and he's been reversed like pretty easily at times. I can forgive Carlos Hernandez being taken down by Ray Soruya and Alan Nascimento because Tumadembaral is nowhere near to that pedigree. He just seems to just crash into the pocket, and if the momentum brings him to his legs, he'll just go for the takedown. So from round 2 onwards, I see Tumadembaral like fading. Like he'll still keep coming forward, but he'll have much less power, less pop in his punches, and much slower, and will just be like way more sloppy than he actually is. And that's where Hernandez can actually do some work with his clean boxing, and he could even get a takedown of his own. So I think Hernandez will get the win, and I know he has no KOs in his wins, but I actually think he might be able to pull one off here, because if it gets to a third, I'm not sure if Tumadembaral has gotten to a third round, like other than his last fight, and he looked pretty bad there. But the opponent was just as tired. While yeah, I think Carlos Hernandez can get his first official KO, and I'll be looking at that round 3 prop and the KO prop. Like honestly, if Ramiz Brahimaj can get a KO,
Fuck.
I think Carlos Hernandez has a good shot here.
Yeah, nice breakdown. Yeah, this is it's a weird little fight. Like Hernandez, definitely, there's just no competition in terms of level of competition. It's not even close. Hernandez has taken on like the nastiest, the most dangerous upcomers in the flyweight division, back to back. Ray Shirura, Tatsuro Taira, even Alan Nascimento. I don't know where he's been recently, but he's huge for flyweight, and he's a nasty grappler. And I think he survived the decision, right? Oh no, rear naked choke.
Yeah.
He survived the decision with Ray Shirura. So I think if this does go to ground, I think he's probably fine to survive with his, like, he's a good scrambler, and he doesn't stop working consistently. My main issue with Carlos Hernandez is that he's very content to be the one backed up and the one on the back foot, and it just doesn't look well visually, which I think is why his wins in the UFC are like that split decision, and then obviously that TKO. But that was a relatively close fight until Bondi gassed out. He's good everywhere. I think he's really good everywhere. He's gritty. He holds his pace and his volume. He's got good cardio. I just think he's, like you said, he's fought some really good guys, and he's competed pretty well for the most part. In terms of Two-Man Dembarel, he's a wild dude, man. He's a wild dude early in his fights. He presses forward. He throws with no regards. He's just a super fast starter. I don't love his process on the feet. He is very low percentage. He's big energy overhands. He's big looping shots. He's just not a very efficient striker or an efficient style. He'll mix in takedowns and grappling, but like I said, I don't think he's anywhere near the level of grapplers that Hernandez has fought and had success defending against for the most part. I can tell you very clearly, both of these last two guys, so Peter Daniso and Topnoi, they're both Bangtao Muay Thai guys. I've done when I trained there for a couple of weeks when I went to Thailand. I trained with Topnoi, did some pad work and stuff. He's not a wrestler. He's a Muay Thai fighter who does MMA. So he doesn't really have. I think when I went there, he was a blue belt, and had only been training grappling very recently. And I think this fight was 1.5 years ago. So I'm not surprised that Two-Man Dembarel had wrestling success in that fight, but I also think that Topnoi is nowhere near a wrestler or a grappler that Hernandez is. So I'm not putting a lot of stock into that fight, especially if you watch that one in the second and third. Topnoi was actually landing a lot of takedowns on him late. So I didn't like that look at all. And Peter Daniso, he's a Bangtao guy as well, and he just couldn't get going. Two-Man Dembarel just put it on him early, swarmed him. And I think that is probably his best ability, Two-Man Dembarel, is when he swarms you. He's got no care for his defense, but he's just so dangerous at landing sort of consistent unanswered shots quickly and makes the ref step in. Like, I don't think he's got one shot KO power or anything like that, but he's just able to land such volume on you that you just kind of shell up and he gets you out of there. I think Hernandez is good enough to take the shots if they do land on him. And we haven't seen Two-Man Dembarel tested defensively as much, and I think Hernandez can have success here. Like I said, my real issue with Hernandez is that he doesn't really separate particularly well, and he doesn't have massive finishing potential, which worries me that he could win more minutes, but that Two-Man Dembarel could have these weird big moments and sway the judges. Do you know what these prices opened at?
No, I don't. But
you'll never believe this. Hernandez opened at a plus 286 underdog.
You're kidding.
I swear. Someone will have a ticket of that somewhere. I don't know how long it was available, but that's what they opened at. I think Hernandez is the side. Again, I haven't got a play on him, and Don't know if I will at minus 200. It's not the worst price, but it's not particularly interesting. I think he's the side just off competition, volume, ability to last longer, and probably just a better everywhere sort of feeling. I don't think Tumen Dembarel is probably long for the UFC. I don't think he's very good. So the side has to be Hernandez for me here.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. So the next fight we have is Zhao Zhenfeng taking on Ming Shi. And just looking at these pictures, you'll be able to see that Ming Shi looks like a cardio kickboxing mum. and Zhao Zhengfeng is just a young sort of. I think she's a relatively touted prospect. Would you say?
Yeah, well, out of all the road to UFC fighters here, like she's the one that I actually see potential in.
Yeah, I think she's probably the best fighter coming off that road to UFC. But in saying that, I don't think she's really good either, to be honest. Price wise, she's sitting at minus 340, and then we've got Ming Shi at plus 265. So I'll go first with this one. So we'll start with Xiao Zhengfeng. She is a big, long, gangly kickboxer. She likes to use her length to chip away at you on the outside. She fights out of southpaw, throws mainly single shots, a little bit low volume overall, but when she does decide to throw in combination, she usually lands really well. It's just more rare that she does that. I think her 1-2 down the pipe is really, really solid, and I think that's going to land on a lot of girls. I think she's got grappling weakness, though, in my opinion. She's not physically strong. She's not physical. She's not strong, and she is a turtle off her back. And I also think that if you threaten the takedown early, you can stifle her offense just a little bit while she kind of overthinks your takedown entries. She looks to me very vulnerable to balance-related takedowns, whether that's foot sweeps or inside-outside sweeps, trips. I just think she's very green, man. She's very green. She's very young. She's clearly a talented kickboxer, but she's got a lot of holes in her game. On to Ming Shi. This is this is my note. This is my first note. She is going to get her head boxed off for as long as this fight is kept on the feet.
That was something similar, actually.
she's so much slower. She's at such a big size and reach disadvantage. Like I said, she fucking strikes like a cardio kickboxing mum. I think she probably has submission upside on the mat, but I also think that anyone would versus Fang at this point. I just don't think that she has the wrestling upside to get the fight down there to take advantage of it. But if for some reason Fang does decide to go to ground in this one, she is definitely a chance of scrambling and reversing position. Overall, just given the skill level of both girls, plus the youth and inexperience, it does make it very hard to want to get to like a minus 335 price. That's pretty crazy, just given the holes. But I think she's way more athletic. She's way more talented on the feet especially, but she is a proper fish off her back. So I hope she makes the UFC, and I hope we get her against the grappler because that'll be a nice price. I understand Fang isn't like a power puncher or anything, but she's got a huge size advantage here. Her length is crazy, and the striking differential is so damn big. Plus 800 on her TKO line seems incredible value to me in this one.
800, oh.
Yeah. Under 2.5, tempting at plus 300, but that seems more inclined if Ming Shi would have grappling success.
Can
And
I go distance line?
What's that?
Do you have an in the distance line?
Ends inside the distance or Fang inside the
inside the distance.
Yeah, Fang inside the distance plus 400.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I do as well, but is she going to get a submission?
Club
I don't know. Yeah, I suppose it covers it just in case there is like a meme finish.
Yeah.
But that was the price. The two prices that stood out to me. Plus 800 on TKO seems like a great shot, personally.
Yeah, definitely.
Go for it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I agree with what you said about Xiao Feng's defensive grappling. She was actually nearly finished like in that last fight of hers. Like she was in
At the end of the fight.
at the
Yeah.
very end.
Yeah, in like that mounted sort of guillotine position, right?
Yeah. So I saw that and I was like, oh, that's not a good look. But she did do well like throughout that fight to kind of she stuffed a few takedowns, right? From memory.
Yeah, it was a little bit, but it was more the way she got taken down towards the end. It was just like these lazy get in the hips, like get your gable grip and just balance, like just to take the legs out sort of thing. Like it wasn't technical, and she still couldn't stuff it. I thought
Yeah.
it was a pretty bad look.
Yeah, it definitely was concerning to see. But um yeah, other than that, I probably think she's the like I said earlier, I think she's the only road to UFC fighter that I could probably feel safe backing as a favorite. And I feel she might have success against like just plain strikers in the UFC. But like you said, like if she faces a grappler where like and that grappler is at plus money, then we have to play that for sure.
Mm.
Yeah, she's tall, rangy southpaw, currently on an 8-fight win streak, only 22 as well, so she's got a lot of growing to do. Really nice striking, fights behind a long jab, carries her hands low, like has slick combos, and she just oozes with confidence. And her opponent, Ming Shi, I didn't see anything on her tape that would have me thinking she is the side. She's scrappy and tough, but unfortunately, that's all I can give her. She is at a big height and reach disadvantage. She drops her hands when she's striking, zero head movement, very easy to counter. Like this is the exact kind of fighter Fang has like field days against. And on top of that, Ming Shi like gets taken down quite easily, like just based on the last two fights that I watched from her, and she just struggles there off her back. But like you said, she would have the grappling upside if she like really, really forced it. But yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know if Ming Shi will get there. She's too disadvantaged. Yeah, Ming Shi has lost by KO and sub once, which was years ago, however, but she has been winning against girls who are in the same low level of skill and experience as herself. Meanwhile, Fang has 5 KOs and 1 sub, and Ming Shi is incredibly hittable and easy to take down. If the Xiaokan Fang in the distance is tasty enough, which you just said it was plus 400, I might have to play it for like half a unit or something. But yeah,
Yeah,
not really much interest in this fight. I'll just say that out of all the road to UFC fights, like she is probably like the most likely to have success.
yeah. I think I'm going to drop a unit on the TKO line or the inside the distance line. I just think that size advantage is insane. 5'2" to 5'7". She's got 6 inches of reach. She's clearly the more physical and athletic fighter. Um, if she, the concern is she just wants to jab her face off from the outside, but I think if she steps in with that 1-2, I think she's live to hurt her at any point. So I have to play it. I think
Yeah,
it's the skill differential on the feet is insane, and I know the skill differential on the mat is insane too. I just don't know if it'll get there.
yeah,
It feels
yeah.
like a good look.
Yeah, I'm definitely keen to lock in that bet. What's up, Antoine?
What's
Antoine.
up, boys? Sending love from Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you very much for the comment, brother. Hope things over there are doing good.
Yep, it's 8:48 a.m. in Australia. I don't know
Yep.
what time it is there, but yeah, much love, mate.
All right. Next fight we have another just a ugly one.
Oh,
Just an ugly one.
you see that 8-0 next to his name, and you think, oh, this guy could be good.
Yeah. Okay, so we have Kiru Sahota taking on Donghoon Choi, not to be confused with Doohoo Choi, which is a different man. Price wise, we have Kiru Sahota. Looks like prices have moved on me. It's about a pick 'em. It is Kiru, roughly, yeah. Kiru Sahota is minus 105, and Donghoon Choi is minus 115. So slight favourite. Fucking hell, Donghoon Choi. You can leave this one off.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, so I'll start with Sahota. He's 12-2, 29 years old. Fights out of the UK. He's an Indian background, I think. Is he?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Indian background. Yeah,
Fade.
yeah. Instant fade. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, he's a Muay Thai style fighter. 6 KOs, 2 subs. He is very tall for this weight class and has a long reach, but pretty effectively from distance. Well, that's when he's most effective from distance, particularly with diverse range of kicks and long range punches. But when he's in close range, he loves to work in elbows and knees as he grabs the tie clinch, which is really good. But while he fights pretty effectively there, he's very hittable at boxing range, and he has a tendency to just stick around there and exchange hooks unnecessarily. Poor takedown defense and can be controlled on the ground. Dun Hong Choi, Dong Hoon Choi. That's how you say it. Undefeated fighter from South Korea, fights out of both stances, constantly switching between both as he moves around the cage. So when I saw he was an undefeated fighter, I was eager to look into him as the flyweight division could use a new contender. And to be 8-0 is quite impressive in its own right, but I was definitely not blown away by this guy. I think he loses against his first UFC level opponent, like once he probably wins this fight. And to double down, I think he would struggle against LFA level competition. Like he almost always loses the first round, and he's just able to adapt in the later stages to just narrowly secure a win. In that last fight against Angard Bisht, I think I'm reading that right.
Yeah.
He was getting tagged plenty of times as he would move backwards throughout the entire fight, especially the first round. But I think he just had some key moments in the second and third that won it for him. So both his road to octagon wins coming into this final were split decisions, and I could argue like he lost both. I can't find a betting angle I love in this fight. Unders is the only thing that stands out to me, but Choi is at the time I was watching and doing notes, he was a minus 140 favorite, and I guess that is closed in because people have actually watched footage on him. I don't think laying money on a guy that typically loses the first round and by tiny margins wins the second and third is wise, but I do think he wins this one. Sahota may have height and reach advantage, but it's not like he fights long the entire time, and he just isn't dangerous enough for me. If Sahota had more forward pressure and threw harder power punches, then I may have been tempted to bet him, but yeah, like no really interest in this fight. Oh, Sahota also doesn't have great takedown defense, and Choi has been known to take opponents down as well. Low confidence pick here, but Choi, no bet.
Yeah, I have legitimately the exact same breakdown. That these guys suck. They both suck. They both will not win in the UFC very much if they get in there. They're not good, man. They're both not good. Sahota, like you said, massive for flyweight, 5'10", 73-inch reach. That's fucking insane.
Yeah,
I just don't think he's good. Given especially how talent deep flyweight is as a division and how well rounded a lot of those guys are, this guy's not going to compete with him.
no.
He wants to fight on the outside, use his length to accentuate his kicks with the teep up the middle, the outside leg kick. I think offensively he's okay. He's pretty average. You can tell what he wants. Like his ideal fight is him leading the dance with straight shots, you moving backwards, and him just sort of picking away at you. But defensively, I think he's below average, and moving backwards, he's got that tall man's defense. He can be countered with big overhands. I will say, though, his ability to counter with hooks in the pocket, that's definitely his most dangerous asset, which doesn't make any sense because he's a long, gangly striker. He also doesn't check leg kicks well at all. But to be fair to him, he has fought okay competition. Not so much on the UFC, but that Sean Marcos da Silva, he's on Cage Warriors. He is a pretty good, relatively good striker. He's okay as well. I think the guys on Road to UFC have been pretty terrible. He just doesn't separate. He's not really going to knock guys out. He's not going to submit him. He just has close fights. There's not much more to say about him, really. And then Dong Hoon Choi, not to be confused with Do Hoo Choi, fights out of southpaw mostly, but he'll switch. Defensively, extremely questionable. I got the exact same notes as you. Defensively, extremely questionable. Was getting touched up by Bisht, who I think is shit and not comparable size-wise to Sahota. Look, they're both... Do Hoo Choi more so is younger, but I just got no interest here. Size difference is crazy for Sahota. He'll probably have striking success, and not like it's not like Dong Hoon Choi like pushes a crazy pace or has like huge grappling upside. It looks like it's going to be a striking fight that'll probably play out pretty close. I think the odds are right. If you got Sahota at plus 130, maybe that's like a good bet, but I don't want to have any money on either of these guys.
No, not wise.
Pretty simple. Like I don't trust either of them with my money. So I guess it's just a watch and see what happens kind of fight for me.
Mm.
All right, well, I'm glad that one's done.
Yeah, I was really not wanting to do that one at all.
No. All right. On to the next one. We have Su Young Yu taking on Balgan Genesily. Price-wise, we are looking at Song Young Yu minus 145, Genesily plus 125. His name's... Is he got... This bloke got different names or something?
But it's spelled different. Like when I was trying to find some of his fights on Fight Pass, like I'd have to...
Yeah, it's Gilissi.
Yeah.
And then it's here, it's Genesily.
Genesily, yeah.
I don't know. All right, so I'll start this one off.
Please.
Su Young Yu, small compact frame. I'd say he's small for bantamweight overall. He's only 5'6", 65-inch reach. I'd say he's definitely on the smaller side. He's got a very explosive style where he'll fight out of both stances, can fight moving backwards and forwards. I actually think he's like a relatively decent wrestler because he's so explosive and quick with his small frame. He can get in on a lot of weird entries on his opponent. I don't think his top control is very good because people seem to be able to sort of shuck him off the back quite easily. And while he does force scrambles, he gets to good positions, but he can't hold people there. But he will consistently threaten takedowns. He'll mix them in, whether it's by going under big shots or running the pipe and, getting the double legs or even judo throws as well. I've seen him have success there. He will overextend on looping boxing shot as the fights go on, but he is very easy to counter if you can slip the first shot in the pocket, as his hands don't come back to his head defensively. In the corner, I don't know if you noticed this, he sits his ass against the cage. He doesn't use a chair in the corner. He just sits on the ground against the cage, which is hilarious. But I think it's really bad optics. It makes him look more tired. It's like when Olenek used to lay against the cage with his legs up. He just looks dead.
Man.
Like I said, he is pretty good at getting to the back. He seems to find it regularly in scrambles. He's just not very good at keeping it there. On the ground, he's pretty good defensively, and he understands how to negate sub attempts pretty well, it looks like to me. Onto Genesily, he has an effective jab. It's his main offensive weapon, which he'll throw it to the head and the body. He's got okay offensive grappling, but poor defensively, in my opinion. I've seen him reversed in scrambles, seen him taken down easily. His last fight, he won a pretty contentious decision. I don't think he looked good at all. And honestly, I think he got saved by Mark Smith standing the fight up when his opponent was thrown. Like he had like a omoplata sort of position. And it stifled the position, it reset it, and he got very lucky because he could have lost quite a lot of minutes there. I just don't really think he's that good. It feels like to me he might be submission or bust here, which doesn't seem wise given I think Young Yu's going to have quite a bit of top time potentially.
He's a better grappler, Su Young Yu, I feel.
Yeah, I think he's the better grappler for sure. But I think Young Yu will give Genesily potential submissions. Like he'll enter in and there might be a guillotine, but Young Yu will scramble out of it. I think Young Yu is the worthy favourite. I don't know if I'll trust this guy. -145 isn't a terrible price. I don't know if I'll get there, but I think I think he should be the favourite this one.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree with that. I'm not gonna bet on this fight at all. I'll just enjoy the scrambles. Yeah, so in how do you say this guy's name? Su Young Yu's. Um, that's an easy one to
Yeah,
not an easy
that's
one
an easy
to
one.
pronounce actually, but yeah, in his recent fight against Shohei Noze, is that how you say it? Shohei
Mm-hmm.
Noze.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was some pretty entertaining grappling exchanges. It was though it was competitive, like throughout, like Su Young Yu like showed he was levels like ahead across the 3 rounds, getting about 10 minutes of control time, and he landed 4 takedowns. And while his while I do consider him high level on the ground, I wouldn't say he has a good stand up game at all. He doesn't look completely like he doesn't look comfortable when he's in the stand up. And in his most recent, yeah, this was the recent one against Zawu Pasi. It was a split decision win, and he found himself against someone who was able to anti-wrestle for long periods of time. Like this forced a lot of stand-up, but he did look improved. But maybe that's just Zawapasi just doing the right style to look good against. With Balgin Genesuli, he's another fighter who has a grapple-heavy game. But while I feel Su Young Yu is the better all-round grappler, Balgin is definitely a bit more comfortable in the striking compared to Su Young Yu. Works behind, feints, leg kicks, changes levels, and moves his head, but he will find the opportunity to shoot. Typically, a single leg, double leg takedown when he times opponents coming in. Yeah, he's good on top, but like you said, like we could see him like reverse, like that Nakanishi guy, like really gave him a good run for his money, and he nearly gave up nearly like 5 minutes of control in that fight, and he was definitely losing the first half.
That's the one that I was saying where Mark Smith stood him up towards the end.
Yeah,
I think I can't remember exactly. I think it was the third round, and that could have, if he just didn't stand him up, he potentially could have lost that third round just on minutes
yeah,
and lost the fight.
Yeah, in the second round, Nakanishi was dominating as well, but I think he caught him with like a really good combo that dropped Nakanishi.
Yeah, towards the end, I believe.
Towards the end, and that's what secured him that round. And yeah, the third round, Mark Smith really helped him out.
Yeah.
So I think this will be a fun fight to watch, grappling wise. I feel that Balgin Genesuli on paper is the more complete fighter to Su Young Yu, sort of. But like since they both have a preference to take this to the fight match, I say complete fighter because of like Balgin is good at the grappling, though Su Young Yu is better. But on the feet, Su Young Yu is definitely like much worse. So I highly favor Su Young Yu to be on the winning end of the grappling exchanges, and that's where I think the fight will play out. Both will get takedowns as they both don't have the best great takedown defense, but I feel Su Young Yu will get more reversals if he's taken down, while when Balgin is taken down, he doesn't have as good of an ability to reverse or get up, and he does give his back up in scrambles. So I have no action on this fight. I'm just going to enjoy it as a fan of up and coming Asian fighters. I'm going to take Su Young Yu in a close decision.
Again, this is a fight where I just think like neither guy really has a high ceiling, or like will have a good run in the UFC. To be honest with you, but I do think I think Young Yu will do more in this fight. Don't you think? Like he looks like he does more,
Yeah,
whether it's in striking or wrestling. I think he'll put more out there.
yeah. Even when he's in bad positions, like
He just does more. He's more active. I think he's the side in this one. I'm just looking what time these. Do you know what time these fights start in Australia?
I'm pretty sure like 7 p.m. on Saturday night.
Correct.
Work. So
First fight 7:10 on Saturday night.
Yeah.
Peter Yarn versus Figgy's on at 12:45.
Beautiful. Right in time for our break.
It's actually not a bad time, to be honest.
Yeah. I can't.
This is what the US get, right? Yeah, like Saturday nights.
Yeah, yes. This will be like yeah, that time.
Weird.
I can't remember the last time I watched like a
I
fight.
can. I can. Fucking Zombie versus Holloway. I almost cried.
Oh, that was, yeah, you're right.
I went to bed so depressed.
Yeah, that was a depressing sleep. I
It was
think,
awesome watching the zombie walk out and everyone screaming and then he just got flattened.
oh yeah. Yeah, when he came out the third round and everyone's cheering, and you could see his. I'm not sure if it was his family, but it might as well have been his family. They were like standing up, like full on cheering as zombies running forward, and then they just like, went, like that.
Yeah, I remember that. It was horrific. All the crowd was like, "Oh,
Yeah, but I feel
oh
like there was another fight night. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Michael Bisping, Kelvin Gastelum, like
yeah." That
the
was in Singapore too.
Singapore. Yeah, I remember that because I went out on that Saturday night, got home, and then like I was blind, and yeah, watching Kelvin Gastelum knock out Bisping like that definitely went to bed like unhappy.
Unhappy or happy?
Unhappy. I was a big Bisping guy like back then.
Fair enough. All right. So next fight we have Aussie Diaz taking on Ming Yang Zhang. Price wise, we have Ming Yang Zhang at a minus 305 favorite, and then Osman Diaz plus 255 underdog. I am going to be honest, I have not taped this one just yet.
I got,
Um,
I gotcha.
so please lead the way and tell me what you think on this one. I can't
Okay.
imagine it's very good.
Yeah, no, not really. So Aussie D, I'll start with him. 9-2, 33 years old. He's a former LFA champion with a 100% finish rate, but he's been knocked out twice in his career. One of them against Joe Pyfer in his Dana White Contender Series fight. Fair enough. Um, Following this
Was
loss,
that was that was that on Contender Series? Was it?
yeah, in 2022.
Yeah.
So he came back. He actually took the rest of 2022 off. So this was in July 2022. He took the rest of that year off and all of 2023 off, and came back against Chuck Campbell, knocked him out in the first round, and a few months later in May, he got a second round stoppage of. Do you remember Bevon Lewis?
I do.
Yeah, not a good fighter, but in those two fights he struggled. Like I forgot which one dropped. One of them dropped him, and one of them got on top of him and was in like a really dominant position. So yeah, make of that as you will. He's not that fast or explosive, but I feel he just has good timing and technique with his boxing. When who is in front of him will box with him as well. So typically he'll just weather the storm of his opponent's pressure, stays calm and consistent. And though he doesn't pack a hard punch in light heavyweight, you just need to be accurate just once, and he really embodies that. I will say most of his opponents have losing records, but he's beaten everyone he's supposed to beat for the most part. You can forgive him for getting KO'd by Joe Pyfer and maybe forgive him for that 15-second KO loss in his third fight. But yeah, on top of that, he doesn't have good takedown defense. He's found himself in compromising positions many times. To his credit, he doesn't stop working to get up or reverse. He doesn't have good defense in general. He always drops his hands as he's punching, which is what got him caught by that left hook by Joe Pyfer anyway. So yeah, his chin has been cracked. And now we got to Minyang Zhang, who is 17-6 with 11 KOs, 6 subs, no decisions. Also a fighter with a 100% finish rate, but has suffered 3 losses by KO, 2 by sub, and 1 by decision. So he's the younger fighter here who has much more experience. But like many fighters in this card, majority of his fights have been against regional competition in Asia, and all his losses have been in those regional competition organizations as well. However, he's on a 10-fight win streak since 2020 with all 10 wins in the first round. To be honest, I don't think he is great, but he is a powerhouse with a tough chin. He'll beat the level of fighters of your Alonzo Manifields, Eon Kudalabas, maybe even just Dustin Jacoby. But I don't see him really competing like well with anyone inside that top 15. Technically on the feet, he's pretty sound. He has powerful strikes, but it is very clear he's a fighter who has so much confidence in his power and his toughness that he only has a finish in his mind. His defense is not a priority to him. He'll come forward with hard strikes with the expectation that something will hurt his opponent badly, and when he gets close, he'll just take his opponents down, get on mount, and use heavy ground and pound to finish them. In both fights against what's his name? He got it was the bloke that got choked out by Umar Sai.
Tokos.
Yeah, tacos. Yeah, in both his fight against tacos and Brenison Ribeiro, he was getting hit pretty cleanly, and he was hit multiple times, especially from Ribeiro, who landed plenty of combos from distance. Like these were like straightforward 1-2s or like left hook rights, and they was hitting him like really clean. And when he got hit, it's like he gets more excited to add pressure and walk forward immediately, trying to get that one back. Which, to be fair, like it's worked on him for the past 10 fights. But with a style like this, I think he's bound to get knocked out in the UFC, and I'll definitely keep my eyes out on who he gets matched up with. So for this fight, I'm going to predict Zhang to win by KO, probably early, probably in round one. I'm going to fade this guy at some point, but I don't think Diaz is the guy. Like he doesn't have explosive power. He doesn't have the striking pedigree and physicality. I don't think he has the defense to avoid fight-ending damage on the feet. And if he doesn't get dropped by strikes as Zhang moves forward, the takedown will be so easy for him to get. And yeah, I'll see Zhang like easily mounting him and just ground and pounding him out. So yeah, I'll see another first round finish. But like I said, I'm very keen to fade this guy one day.
Yep, my thoughts exactly. I have been actually waiting to fade Zhang. I tried with Ribeiro. Zhang just has no head movement. He's just a block. His head is just a block. It just is in front of everyone. He eats shots from everyone. I've been trying to get someone to fade him with, but evidently this is not the guy.
No, Diaz is not the guy, man.
And do you remember after his last fight, he called out Alex Pereira?
Oh, that was him, wasn't it?
He beat fucking Brenson Ribeiro and then calls out Alex Pereira.
God, was that when Pereira was a champ of some sort, or
he was a champion? Yeah,
he was the champion at that point.
Yeah, light heavyweight. Yeah,
light heavyweight. Oh, that's so dumb.
So dumb. The guy isn't even in the top 15, and he's called for a title shot.
Stupid.
Amazing. Under the violence props are pretty ugly as well. Under 1.5 is minus 240. Do you think Aussie Diaz could survive over 7.5 minutes?
Well, that's how he usually gets his wins. Like he weathers the storm, but I don't know, the level of guys that he's weathering the storm against is just like
not good.
Not great.
I mean, it's square, but Zhang TKO is minus 130. What else have we got? Zhang inside the distance minus 200, pretty ugly. Zhang round 1 plus 150, that's horrific.
Yeah.
Not a lot of value getting around in that fight by the looks of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a pass fight. Probably don't.
Yeah, it's hard to trust a guy like Zhang who just has a blockhead that just gets hit consistently.
Yeah. Maybe for the parlay boys that under. But...
yeah, you'd be sweating every minute of that, I reckon. And the 240 price tag is just not very enticing.
Disgusting.
All right, next fight we have. I don't know why this one's so low, to be honest with you.
I know, right? Like this one could have honestly headlined this thing.
It should be co-main event, I would have thought.
Yeah.
You've got Yan Xiaonan taking on Tabitha Ritchie as co-main, which is just amazing. And then even above this fight, you've got Kong Wang and Gabriel Fernandez, who have had one fight in the UFC, and Fernandez has like 3.
Yeah.
Bizarre. Price wise, we have Ulberg as a pretty moderate heavy favourite, minus 240. Comeback on Uzdemir is plus 205 currently. Again, like this is a good fight. You kind of know like what to expect from Ulberg at this point in his career. Like he's super physical, he's super athletic, he's fast. I think he's clearly like getting better as well. You can see that in his fights that he is really developing his striking, his defense. He's also already had that fraud check, so I think all undefeated fighters need a loss like that to sort of put yourself back in
Yeah.
reality and check yourself. Um, and I think that's been good for him. Like I think Kennedy fucking sucks and Zechiku sucks,
Yeah.
but the way he lost that fight was a horrific look. But I think he's clearly adapted from it, which is good because that's what you need to do from Els. The fact that he's 34 years is surprising to me. Like I thought he was a little bit younger
Yeah.
than that.
I thought it was like at 27 or 28.
Yeah, I was thinking 28 too. But he's young in the fight years. Like 10, only had 11
Yeah.
fights. I like his style, man. Like he throws straight really well. He uses his frame and his reach. He's quick. He's got power. He when he gets you hurt, he's super dangerous. I will say that his quality of opponent has not been very good overall. Like, look at his last five. You've got Tafon, not in the UFC anymore. Nikolai, not going to say that last name and get myself in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know I don't know where he's gone. He hasn't been seen in years.
Yeah.
I think he's still in the UFC. He just hasn't fought. Ihor Peteria, you know what to say about him. Darwin Jung, I think that's a pretty good win. I
They went to the
I
third
think,
round.
yeah, I think that was in UFC Sydney. I'm pretty sure I watched that one live.
Yeah.
Yeah, a submission win in the last round, which was impressive because I thought there was potential for him to slow down 2 and 3, and that Darwin Jung would sort of take over. But
Yeah.
the amount of damage that he landed on Darwin Jung just made that impossible. He was super damaged, and there's no chance of a comeback when they're that hurt. And then obviously that quick win over Alonso, which was just bizarre, a bizarre look really. Like the way he won that fight was pretty much off Alonso like running forward like a spud and just
Yeah.
getting caught. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is a clear step up in competition. But I also think he's like getting Uzdemir at a good time because he's getting older. But he has been putting in good performances after the.
He's currently, I reckon he's at his best, like, right now.
Yeah, it's been weird because I almost thought he was at his best like 4 years ago when he obviously had the title shot. I think he got rushed to that title shot because he had such exciting fights early in his career where he was knocking guys out quick, and he probably got there earlier that he should have because he didn't have much of a grappling game. But after that loss to Krylov, he bounced back with a good win over Guskov. But again, I don't really rate Guskov that highly. And then he had Johnny Walker. He's coming off the back of 2 Ws against guys I don't particularly rate. And then Paul Craig, he had a win against too. So he's 3-2 in his last 5 against 3 pretty shitty fighters overall. But look, he is good, man. He's good. Like his boxing is pretty impressive. He clearly has good power in his hands. He lands the leg kick as well. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about him. Like he can hurt you and punish you for mistakes, but at this point in his career, is he going to be making a title run? I think he's going to be at a pretty significant speed advantage in the disadvantage in this one against Ulberg, and I think the way that Ulberg fights, he'll beat him to the punch quite a bit because I think where Uzdemir will go for these big, hooks and things like that, Ulberg will be going for the jab and the cross throwing straight. I think he'll beat him down the middle. My issue is we don't know a lot about Ulberg and we don't know a lot about his chin. If Uzdemir touches him, is he going to be in trouble? It's a good fight. I think Ulberg deserved favourite, maybe a little bit wide, but I think he probably wins this one. I don't know I think he'll probably win a decision. I think he'll probably do more over 15 minutes. I think he'll try and stick on the outside a bit more. In terms of the grappling, Uzdemir has competed like relatively well there recently. Like I remember against Guskov, he clearly had the advantage there, but I don't think Guskov is too much chop off his back. So I don't know if that's a whole lot to put in that. But yeah, I think Ulberg sort of competes well enough here and outlands him over 15 minutes and probably wins the decision. It's not a strong read, and it's not one that I'm like super interested in just because Ulberg is getting like a pretty decent step up in competition. What's your read on the fight?
Yeah, so first off, I remember you and I had a bet on Volkan Ozdemir 6 years ago to beat Daniel Cormier. You remember that?
I remember that's many, many moons ago, my friend.
Yeah, we both put on $20, I believe, which was
Yep.
big for back then. We watched that together at Miranda Hotel, I believe.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, so that was 6 years ago, and since then, Ozdemir has seen mixed results with losses for the most part due to his one-dimensional style. But I do think he's making the right improvements in this later stage of his career, and yeah, like he always had one-punch KO power, often catching and putting out opponents in the middle of wild exchanges where he somehow can generate like huge power without using his hips. You remember that knockout he got over Misha Serkinov?
Yep.
Like it really just looked like the tiniest little punch, and he knocked him out. The thing is, like back then, he was too wild and defensively irresponsible, and if he didn't get the opponent out of there, he would just resort to slugging it out if his opponents were game, like with Dominic Reyes, which was a split decision loss, and Rakic, which he decision win. And
I think now that you say that as well, sorry to cut in, I do think those are two like pretty comparable athletes.
Yeah, for sure.
In terms of frame and style, like he's beaten those guys before, and he's faced people like that before, so it's probably not the worst look really for Ozdemir.
Yeah, and he had a competitive fight against Yuri for the most part. This was when Yuri was like
that was his first fight.
And that was a war. And yeah, so he'd entertain these like slugfests, but otherwise, fighters who were more complete would have their way with Ozdemir. Like Ankalaev, just unanimous decision the shit out of him. DC just got him to the ground and subbed him, and even Anthony Smith subbed him. And did Krylov get a win over?
Yeah, decision.
Yeah, by decision. So
he's fought everyone in light heavyweight. Like if you look at his record, Krylov, Craig, Ankalaev, Yuri, Rakic, Ilia Latifi, Reyes, Smith, Cormier, Jimmy Manawa, OSP. He's literally fought everyone who's anyone in light heavyweight.
Yeah, good wins and respectable losses, like in my opinion. But yeah, in his last two fights, he has turned up with a more complete game and has tightened up his skills. I know Johnny Walker is someone everyone gets finishes over nowadays, but Volkan, he didn't win by being wild and just landing on his chin recklessly, but he actually did show off some really like nice boxing combos with a tight guard, careful pressure with footwork, and he just got him out of there in the first. I was really impressed by that. And prior to Johnny Walker against Bogdan Guskov, a fighter Volkan would have usually, like the Volkan of 2018 would have had a war against Bogdan Guskov. But he was technical and patient in the boxing range, smashed his leg with kicks, even took him down to the ground early and garnered like some control time, and then eventually dropped Bogdan with a short hook and followed him to the ground and found a rear naked choke. Not only are we seeing like straight punches and combos from him now, but like instead of wide hooks that he used to throw, he's like throwing those really short like hooks that are like the one he dropped Guskov with, which was pretty cool. Now to Carlos Ulberg, I'm surprised to see that he's only 2 years younger than Ozdemir, as Ulberg is a relatively new name in the sport, and Ozdemir is a veteran. Ozdemir made his MMA debut in 2017, and at this time, Ulberg was only 2-0 in MMA. Ulberg's fighting out of City Kickboxing in New Zealand. He showed off some like really, really good finishes in his last 5 fights, 4 in round 1. His last fight was an 11-second ridiculous fight, like game plan from Alonzo Manyfield, which I don't know how like he can look at himself in the mirror. That was almost as worse as that guy that ran at Brian Battle, Gabe Green.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ulberg, he carries huge power, very technical in his I think my fire alarm's going off.
Jesus, is that you or me?
I think that's my fire alarm.
That scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
You're good? Do you want me to sort it out?
Yeah, I'll sort it out. Give me
Maybe
a
just mute. Maybe just mute your mic. Fucking hell. Ryan's, Ryan, Ryan's house is burning down. Fuck. A couple of F's in the chat for Ryan's house burning down live on stream. Yeah, it's a pretty close fight. Look, Vulcan is tempting at this price, but I think that I do think Ulberg's going to have a pretty sizable speed advantage, which is going to mean a lot in this fight. The question is, can he take the shots from Özdemir? And we haven't really seen that we haven't seen him tested like that for a while. So I'm pretty interested to see this one. I think it's a great fight, and I don't really know why it's so low on the card. So I'm going to move on to this next one just while we wait. We can go back if we need to. We might be back. All right. So we'll move on to this next one. We have Kong Wang taking on Gabby Fernandez. So price-wise, this one's super wide. Holy shit, Kong Wang is minus 800 and Gabriela Fernandez is plus 550. That is insanity. So Kong Wang obviously had that UFC debut against Victoria Leonardo, who is just one of the shittest fighters we've ever seen in the UFC. Just looked terrible. And Kong Wang comes out, stiffs are bad. You're back.
I'm back.
All good?
Yeah, all good. Yeah, Mum's just cooking something.
Oh, nice. All right. We'll go back. You can finish your Özdemir breakdown.
Yeah. Where was I at? I was talking about Ulberg, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, carries huge power, very technical in his boxing skills. Since he got that lesson from Kennedy and Sechiku, he just shown mostly a conservative counter-striking game, rarely engaging in the pocket for extended periods of time. Snipes out from distance, mostly with kicks evenly distributed between the head, body, and legs. Pulls his jab out, standing in a wide stance, and lures his opponents to attack and rush in. And his signature strike is that check left hook, which has finished Nikolai. I'm not even going to say it. And Ihua Petr. So his main form of defense is using his footwork to glide out of the way and posting his hands out to angle out. Very similar to Israel Adesanya, actually. So I want, going into this fight and seeing the odds, I wanted to somehow take Özdemir. Don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of Carlos Ulberg, but there's a likability to Özdemir that I just can't shake off. He's a trials and tribulations kind of fighter. And it is awesome to see that he's putting it all together. I was potentially looking at an angle for Özdemir to maybe come in with a takedown-heavy game plan, but Ulberg has been taken down just once in the UFC by Dawon Jong, and he only got controlled for 15 seconds. And he even secured a takedown in that fight and choked him out, right?
What fight was that, sorry?
The Dawon Jong fight?
Yeah, choked him out in the third round.
Yeah, and Özdemir, he did take down Bogdan Guskov, but Guskov got up. And Guskov is definitely not that good in the grappling. Ultimately, I'm going to favor Carlos Ulberg here because he's just so much faster, more athletic and rangier. And though Özdemir has shown fantastic improvements, he showed them off against slower and less dangerous, and less good fighters in Walker and Bogdan. Between watching tape on Volkan and Ulberg, the difference in speed on their movements was just the most noticeable thing. So I'm predicting Ulberg will catch Volkan, dropping his hands at some points and land a short hook that drops him, maybe even in the first round. But yeah, I need to see the numbers if Carlos Ulberg by KO is anywhere between plus money to maybe minus 150, and maybe I might play it. But yeah, otherwise I'm just happy to enjoy this one.
I'll tell you, it is Ulberg ITD is minus 110. Ulberg TKO is plus 140. I think I agree with you completely. I think the speed advantage for Ulberg is probably the biggest in this fight. But it's clear, it's pretty clear that like the books really respect Ulberg in that he's always this massive favourite. Like Ihor Peteria, he jumped minus 450. Darwin Jung, he's minus 280. Alonso, he's minus 275. And then here he's minus 260. So he's like almost the same price as he was against Alonso and Darwin Jung. And I would say Özdemir is better than all those guys. Not to say that that means anything, because he could, still just knock him out in the first round. But it is interesting that they would price him around that same price. I would think it would be a little bit lower, given that it is quite a big step up in competition. It's kind of a really tricky fight to get around on. I think like it could finish in the first round. I could also see it go to decision, so it makes it hard for round props and stuff like that. I don't think I'm going to have much action on this fight personally.
Yeah, neither.
It's tricky. I definitely think Ulberg favourite, but 260 feels pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's why I really wanted to convince myself of a Özdemir play, but I just can't get there.
Yeah, it's almost like forcing it because of I could see him being like a value loser. Like he might have some success, but probably ends up getting knocked out or losing a decision.
Yeah.
All right, so up the card, which is just weird saying Özdemir and Ulberg, and then we're going up the card to Kong Wang. Anyway, Kong Wang taking on Gabby Fernandez. I was breaking this one down when you came back, but I'll quickly touch on it again. Kong Wang minus 800, Gabby Fernandez plus 550. As I was saying, I think Kong Wang is a very good striker. It's very clear that she's got power in her hands, and she's a very confident striker too. In terms of, and maybe this is a setup spot for her, given it's in Macau. She's Chinese. She's a fun women's fighter. They're trying to push her. Gabby Fernandez, to me, like, she's not terrible. I think Kong Wang's definitely better than her and has more power. But I don't think Gabby Fernandez is terrible. And in terms of her UFC career, she's fought mainly grapplers who have had their way with her. Like, she's struggled with the grappling, but she's competed on the feet relatively good enough. She's a kickboxer for the most part. And look, she didn't have, like, Blader and Jazz Vicious both just mauled her on the ground, like took her down and just had their way with her. But they're super physical girls, very physical, very athletic, very grappling heavy. And that's super counterintuitive to her style, whereas she wants to be on the feet and she wants to kickbox with you, which could be a good thing given that Kong Wang won't look to actively grapple her, I don't think. Like, Kong Wang has got a submission win on her record, but she's not a grappler, and she's more than content that if you want to strike, she'll strike with you. But that also could be a bad thing for Gabby, because Kong Wang could potentially just knock her out, because she looks like she has good power and is the better striker. This line feels ridiculous to me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, like what do you say it was?
Minus 800.
Minus 800.
Like, unless she... And as I said previously, Victoria Leonardo is one of the worst UFC fighters I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So the fact that she got a round one win over her, I'm not like crazy impressed by that. I'm impressed by the way that she did it with that big shot, but I don't think Gabriela Fernandez will be that defensively unaware and that stupid to eat a shot like that. So if this is a kickboxing fight for 15 minutes, I'd definitely favour Kong Wang, but 800 feels wide. Absolutely. Do I really want to have a play on Fernandez at plus 550? Not particularly, but the price is sort of forcing my hand in that it's going to be a striking fight, and she's a decent striker. I need to do a little bit more tape on Fernandez, if I'm honest, on this one, but line feels wild.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think with Gabriela Fernandez, like, I think she's been the victim of pretty tough matchmaking in the UFC and non-marketability. Like, her debut was Jasmine Vicious, who took her down 4 times and controlled her for over 11 minutes. And Teresa Blader, she's not amazing, she's not great, but she took her down 3 times and controlled her for over 10 minutes. and she still ended up defending a lot of takedowns from both, but unfortunately, just no get up game when she was taken down. So despite Fernandez's like 1-2 UFC record, she had a pretty impressive run through the regionals, right up to capturing a title in LFA. She actually has a win over Yasmin Lucindo in 2018. So Fernandez, while she's not like great, and by no means is she like a bad fighter. If anything, compared to a lot of the women's MMA roster, she's pretty decent and moves really well. Bounces in and out in her wide southpaw stance. Throws fluid, hard boxing combos, and the best part of her game are her leg kicks and body kicks. She's good at managing her distance and using her reach to keep opponents at her range. She has looked great against lower level competition, but her weaknesses have definitely been exposed through Jasmine Jazadovicius and Teresa Blazer. Other than her obvious grappling holes, when she's fighting someone on her level on the feet, she offers good attack, but she doesn't have great defense. She just stays there in the pocket after exchanges. She doesn't have a strong guard. She lifts her hands up, but she doesn't tighten it, so it kind of just punches will just go through it. And yeah, her head stays in the middle. When she's pressuring forward as well, like her hands are way down. And Kong Wang, I'm pretty sure you covered it all. She's fast, precise, aggressive, picks opponents apart from the outside, mixing up targets, and either capitalizes off reactions, which makes her enter the range with combos, or draws out an attack which she counters. Yeah, she has a win over Valentina Shevchenko in kickboxing. That's probably why she's minus 800 here. Like,
Yeah.
I can probably put it to that. But yeah, look, I think Gabriela Fernandez, she's not a bad fighter, but I think she's just outgunned here. I might favor Fernandez against typical kickboxers transitioning into MMA, but Kong Wang has kickboxing prowess, a lot of momentum and fight-ending power, and I don't think Wang will allow Fernandez to establish much semblance of a working game plan, as Fernandez needs her opponent to play into her comfortable range and distance, and Kong Wang will happily just snipe from the outside with quick shots until she finds that opening. Yeah, minus 800 is a ridiculous line. I don't want to have any part of betting for this fight. I imagine a KO will be like minus 200 or something, 150.
Wang TKO says plus 250, actually. That's
Plus
bizarre.
250. Well, that might be the most enticing angle to look at this fight, but plus 250, I wouldn't load like more than like a unit on that, I think. But
yeah, she's favoured quite heavily to win by decision. It's minus 105, and over 2.5 is minus 165. So the books are favouring this one to go long.
oh, yeah, well, that KO prop does look enticing now, but still, like, it doesn't change the fact that minus 800 is stupid.
Yeah, she's probably going to be doing like more active, landing bigger shots. She's got more power, so she definitely deserves. Like, I don't not think she shouldn't be favourite, but I would probably price her like minus 300.
Yeah,
800 feels pretty crazy.
Yeah,
And I don't even want to take the shot on Gabby because it feels like just a value loser.
yeah. It's a situation where Kong Wang will probably win the fight.
Yeah, but won't cover the price.
Yeah.
If she goes to the decision, she wins a 29-28, 30, a dirty 30-27. Does she really cover minus 800? I think if you're minus 800, you should come out here and knock her out in the first round.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. But anyway.
Which could very well happen.
Could happen. We'll see. So we've got three fights to go. This one, again, not the most interesting, I don't think. But feel free. You lead us off with this one, please.
Yeah, mate. I'll take this. Kenan Song, he's coming off a decisive victory over Ricky Glenn, where I think he looked pretty bad. Like,
decisive.
Maybe not the right word, decisive. Well, he clearly won it.
Yeah.
He clearly won that fight. He just didn't look great. He should have finished him in that fight multiple times. And like, there was clearly a massive differential in skill, but it looked like the early grappling got his arms kind of heavy, and he was happy to just go the rest of the fight like cruising, despite having every opportunity to finish. Like, in general, I think Song really only thrives where with fighters who are clearly less skilled on the feet but are willing to just engage in a stand up. Otherwise, I feel his natural powers just widened his margin for success as he can find early KOs. He even dropped Ian Gary, which it would have been great to see Ian Gary like been
Knocked
KO'd
out cold.
in his career. But
It'll
yeah,
come.
yeah. Song is very one dimensional. Got basic boxing. He's flat footed, low IQ in my opinion. He does mix it up with like kicks and elbows in a clinch, but doesn't offer more than that. He doesn't seem to have a plan B or plan C, as he is not really known for his mid-fight adjustments. He just kind of just sticks to his game in hope that like his opponents will eventually fade. So every time he's faced anyone with credible striking in the UFC, he's lost. Not even like credible striking. Like he's lost to Morono, Max Griffin, Kevin Hussein, Ian Gary. He does have 9 subs to his name, but this was all in the Chinese regional circuit against like low-level fighters who clearly couldn't grapple. And he's like up against a 40-year-old this weekend. There's a lot of that going on in the past few weeks. A lot of fighters going up against elders, but for a 40-year-old, Salikov has actually like held himself all right. He's known as the king of kung fu. He is 6 years older here, and in the ripe age of 40. He's got a tricky style that I actually feel will trouble Song Kenan. It's unconventional without looking too unorthodox, in my opinion. Like Song's best success is when he plants his feet in the pocket, coming forward with a strike for each step. And Salikov, I don't think will allow for this to happen. Salikov keeps the fight at long range where he is comfortable. He will jump in and engage, and he doesn't stick around in the pocket afterwards, as he will leap back out, as he's still just fast and agile, and he'll angle off. He's good at establishing a pace where he can freely move around the cage and maintain it over 15 minutes. His constant movement can leave opponents kind of frozen for little periods, and that's where he throws like lightning fast spinning kicks or leaping hooks, or just tight combos. Like he still has really good power behind him. One thing pretty cool about Salikov, he's also one of the most least hit fighters in the UFC, absorbing an average of 2.92 strikes per minute, making his defense accuracy a huge 62%. Recent fighters who have beaten Salikov are Randy Brown, who has lightning quick one-shot KO power, Nicholas Dalby, who just forced grappling on him, and Li Jingliang, who has at that point, he still has one-shot knockout power, but he was a lot more sharper around the time he fought Jing Liang. Salikov, he's beaten opponents who I feel fit the same kind of striking style of Kenan, and if anything, are more proven and better, like your Ponzinibbio's, your Andre Fialho, went back before Fialho was knocked out like 20 times.
He dominated him.
Yeah, dominated Fialho.
Even like a Trinaldo. He's kind of like a
tricky as well. And Eliezer Zaleski. So I know some of these were split decisions, but the beauty of Salikov's style is that he doesn't give bad optics. So I could not feel confident in backing Song Kenan. He's low IQ, unreliable chin. He's been KO'd 4 times, and I don't see him coming into this fight with plan B to D, like as usual. And I think Salikov will catch him with like something wild, like maybe a spinning attack or like a leaping left hook in round 2 when Song decides to pick up the pace after losing the first and get caught by surprise as he steps forward. I'm definitely not in a rush to bet this fight, as Salikov is the favorite, but he's 40. Like I think this is a stay away spot for me.
I've literally the exact same breakdown. This is so funny.
We've had a few of those today.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's been weird, but I completely agree. Like Salikov, yes, I think he is the A side in this fight. But at minus 165 and being 40 years old, like it's not super enticing. I completely agree with you when you said what you said about Kenan Song. Like I think he is just not that good. Like he is. I think again he's one of those fighters that is like okay everywhere but not good anywhere. I don't think. Like he's got okay boxing. He'll try and like mix in a bit of wrestling, but he's not that good. He's not a good grappler. I think defensively he's super hittable. He doesn't move his head very much, and I think straight shots really worry him. But again, completely agree. He wants to move forward. He wants to get in the pocket, but I don't think he has crazy power. I don't think he has crazy volume. I don't think Salikov is even going to give him the chance because I think he's going to be on the outside circling out with every engagement and just resetting. And while Son Kanan might come crashing in, I think he's going to not find Salikov. He's going to be already circled out. If you look at Son Kanan, like he's been in the UFC since 2017 and he's had like 10 fights, but he has fought some of the worst competition I've seen in the UFC. He's fought, well, maybe not the worst, but he hasn't fought great competition. Like he's fought Ricky Glenn, Kevin Doucet, Rolando Bedoya. Like those three alone are like average, I'd say. Like not amazing.
You reckon?
Probably Gary. Oh, sorry, best win. Oh fuck, I don't know. Maybe Ricky Glenn, which is saying
Ricky Glenn, that's the thing. He beat Bedoya, right?
What's that?
He beat Rolando Bedoya, right?
Yeah, he beat him as well.
Yeah.
But I don't think he hasn't shown much in the UFC yet. And then he, had the loss to Gary, the loss to Griffin. But then after that, he's fought Callum Potter, who's like this nobody Australian. Derek Krantz, not good. Alex Morono, loss. Hector Aldana, Bobby Nash. And that's everyone he's fought in the UFC. It's like he's been around for a long time, but he hasn't really fought anyone good. And when he has, they've killed him. Max Griffin, Ian Gary, like they've done him really badly. I just think he's very plotting and the way he commits to his strikes I don't like, especially against a guy like Salikov who will spin on a dime and just be able to catch you. His kicking offense is ridiculous. The way he still can catch people at the age of 40 is pretty impressive, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Is Kanan Song going to come in here and wrestle fuck him for 15 minutes? Don't think so. Is he going to compete on the feet for 15 minutes? Don't think so. The only way I see Kanan Song winning is if he somehow lands like a big shot in the pocket. But I don't think Salikov's going to be, eager to engage him there. I think he'll be too busy on the outside. So I think it's Salikov's side, but I don't want to bet him at minus 165. If the odds were flipped, I'd be pretty keen to have a bet on him. But minus 165 feels fair to me.
Yeah, so I take this fight maybe last Wednesday before I even had a look at the odds, and I just kind of assumed that it would be close for some reason. So at that point, I was happy to play Salikov for maybe minus 130, 140.
What do you think? What do you think about a finish or a decision? What's your inkling?
I can see a finish.
Yeah, because I think the same thing. I've had a bit of success betting on unders in Salikov fights against decent strikers or people with durability issues. Like Randy Brown, I took under 2.5. That finished in the first round, so it wasn't even a sweat.
Yeah.
I think I had it in the Li Jingliang fight too, and that ended in round 2. I don't think Song Kanan's a huge finishing upside here. I think if he wins by decision. In the UFC, I guess he's won by decision recently for the most part. But Salikov is old, and I think if he gets hurt, I think Song could get him out of there. So I don't mind the under under 2.5 plus 130. I don't mind that.
Yeah.
And then you just sort of hope they just have a striking match for 15, and then someone can catch each other. It's probably the best look on this fight for me, to be honest. But I haven't bet it yet.
Yeah, well, you have a chinny guy in Song Kanan, and you have Salikov, who just got knocked out not too long ago.
But I could also see a gross 15-minute decision where they both get hurt throughout, and somehow they grapple and clinch, and it just goes long somehow. I could see that as well, which would be disgusting.
Yeah,
it's a fun fight. It should be good, but
for sure.
Story of this card, it's do you want to trust this favorite? Not really.
No.
All right, co-main event.
I'm going to run to the bathroom before we get to this co-main.
Yeah, go for it. I'll start it off. All right. So co-main event of the evening, we have Yan Xiaonan taking on Tabitha Ricci. Let me just have a quick look. Pricing, we have Yan Xiaonan, pretty firm, minus 200 favourite. And then we've got comeback on Tabitha Ricci, plus 170. Yeah, this is an interesting fight. So we kind of, I think you know what to expect from Tabitha Ricci at this point in her career. Like, she kind of fights very similarly to the point that you can get a gauge on her. Like, she's got good judo throws, trips, and takedowns to get the fight to the mat. She's got okay submissions on the mat. I think her pure wrestling is not amazing, but she'll mix it in from time to time. I think on the feet she's pretty bad, to be honest with you. I don't think she's amazing. She's small and no power. I don't think she has any finishing upside on the feet. And she's taking on Yan Jianan here, who's a good striker. She wants to strike with you. She's tough. She's gritty. She's pretty durable and hard to get out of there. Like, I had her against Wei Li. I took Wei Li to inside the distance, and that was just one of the most horrific. Oh man, it's one of the most horrific watches I've ever seen. I think it was Herzog in that fight. He literally, she was choked out, unconscious, and he's picked her up off the mat and got her in the corner somehow. And then what was it? She was landing ground and pound as well.
Yeah, so I think it was at the end of the first or something. He had so she was pretty much choked out.
Yeah,
and the second, you could have stopped it maybe two occasions with the ground and pound.
Yeah, that was one of the worst watches at inside the distance bet. It was horrific.
Yeah, man. I was so furious.
But she's a really good fighter. She's good on the feet. She likes to stick on the outside. I think she throws straight really well, which should be big in this one because Richie's going to be at a size and a reach disadvantage. And I think Yan Xiaonan is going to be able to keep her or want to keep her on the outside. And I think her style matches pretty well for that. Like, she's got her kicking offense is good. She's got fast kicks. She's just fast overall. Yeah, I've never really rated Tabitha Ricci. She's getting like a pretty strong step up in competition here from Angela Hill, and what I don't like about Ricci is that she's just not dominant in her wins. Like, I don't like betting on fighters who don't separate that well. Maybe a little bit more so, given she's like a firm underdog price. You get a little bit more leeway with that. But to me, Yan Jianan, she's faster. I think she's a better striker. Look, would Ricci have upside if the fight got to the ground? Yeah, potentially. How is she going to get the fight to the ground? She's going to have to get in the clinch, use her judo throws and trips and takedowns to get it down. I don't necessarily see that happening at a really high clip. I think Yan Jianan, the better fighter who's fought better competition. She's Chinese, fighting in Macau. I think she's the side here for sure. I think she probably wins a... I could honestly... could you see her finishing Ricci?
Ricci is tough. What are her two losses by? Decision and...
Who's that? Ricci?
Ricci.
Oh, shit, I just closed my tab. I'll have a look. But I think Ricci's pretty hittable, and I don't think she's a great striker.
Oh, she's very, very hittable.
Yeah, and while she has... she has taken shots well. She did get TKO by Menon back in the day. That was up in weight class, though.
Oh, yeah.
So get a bit of...
I can forgive that.
Yeah, get a bit of leeway there.
Yeah.
I just think Yan Jianan's a better fighter. Look, she's getting old at 35, and maybe the UFC think this is a spot that they could push Ricci, but Chinese in Macau, she's going to do more. I think in terms of the cleaner striking, it's Yan Jianan, and that's probably not even close. I guess if you take the Ricci side, you have to think that she's getting the fight to the ground at a pretty high clip. And look, she does land takedowns. She lands 3 on average per 15 minutes, but she's landing at a 38% clip. Yan Jianan, 62% takedown defense. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible. I like her footwork on the outside. I think she's going to land more shots, and I think she's going to absorb less shots, and I think that's what it comes down to. So Yan Jianan, the side for me, probably by a decision more likely.
Do you think Ricci takes a round?
I don't know. I think it's a bad stylistic matchup for her, if I'm quite honest.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Um, yeah, so I have faded Tabitha Ritchie every step of the way, and, and I'm torn between going to the well with that again, as Shannon. I believe Shannon has the clear skills to win here, or do I fade Shannon as there is that whole post championship loss curse that's seemingly going unbeaten in recent times? Everyone who's lost in a as a challenger, like from recent memory, has lost their next fight. Um, yeah, look, I love Xiaonan's overall game. Great fundamentals, creative, and got some serious power for a strawweight. And I love her spinning back fist that she just seems to spam. Um, at times, with the fluidity of her strikes and her workload, she does remind me of Joanna and Jacek at times. But despite losing in her last fight to Zhang Weili, she really showed how resilient and hardworking she was. As she was painfully for us close to being finished twice in the first two rounds. She rallied like hard in those following rounds 3 and 4, like against a really tired Weili. But ultimately, I think in the fifth she got taken down, and that's what got Weili the win. So one weakness I will point out is the defensive grappling. Like while I believe she has to have improved, I cannot forget the brutal finish Carla Esparza got on her
Oh yeah,
3 years ago. That was really brutal. Like she landed three, um,
yeah,
she
it was
landed
right.
takedowns at will, and just it was a very big ground and pound, and she was the favorite going into that. Um, yeah, so
But
shout out.
she's a much better pure wrestler than Richie.
Yeah, I was gonna
Espart,
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah, um, Ricci, she's a girl that just keeps on getting it done. She goes into every fight showing she's clearly the less skilled fighter, yet she manages to sneak out a decision. Her style is quite simple to me: aggressive forward pressure, crash into the pocket, throw wild strikes to overwhelm opponents, and then like tries to bully them against the fence, chasing a takedown or just get some cage control. But when she does not get her opponents down, she has good control. I mean, when she does get her opponents down, she has good control on top, threatening subs, but she mostly looks just keep them down. And this is where I feel her best chances with Yan Xiaonan. I know Richie isn't near the level of a Weili Zhang or a Carla Esparza, but she is aggressive. She has non-stop cardio, and she could leave Xiaonan too concerned about the strikes while moving back, and then that could leave for an opportunity for a takedown. Richie's someone that's weaponized their cardio. Like she's good at maintaining a high pace throughout, while opponents will tend to fade. And when the striking exchanges become ugly and wild, that's where the optics like definitely favor her. And like Xiaonan, much better striker, like no doubt. But like, could she be lured into an ugly striking fight? Maybe. Um, Richie's just so open to be countered, but she got no head movement. She just freezes when she gets hit. But she just has this ability to just reset after these exchanges and just come back forward. So I feel where Tisha Pennington outstruck Richie but wasn't able to hurt her or keep her off, and where Angela Hill, who's clearly the more complete striker, but couldn't keep up with the cardio and didn't have the strength to negate a grappling. I think Xiaonan is technically better and stronger than both Tisha and Hill, and has the ability to actually really hurt Tabitha. So I think Richie's ability to keep moving forward, throwing wild strikes throughout 3 rounds, will make it a more even playing field. As I do see Xiaonan entertaining these wild exchanges, and Xiaonan 100% will be successful early, but in rounds 2 and 3, I think the margin between them might get closer and closer as punches start to get more labored, and they both start wearing the pace of the fight. But I am gonna take Xiaonan to win this by a decision. Not the most confident pick, but yeah, I think she's just so much better everywhere.
Yeah, I agree. As long as this fight doesn't spend 15 minutes on the ground, she's not losing. Um, and I just don't like. Tabitha Ritchie has pretty good judo, but is she she's not going to blast double Yan Jianan, and I think Yan Jianan can probably compete and defend on the mat relatively enough to survive if it does get down there at a point. And I think all the time it spends on the feet is at massive upside to her.
Absolutely.
And yeah, you're right. It might play out a bit close with the style that Richie has, where she gets ugly and wants to clinch and mix everything in together. But I think Yan Jianan's footwork's probably good enough to keep her on the outside and land bigger shots, really.
Yeah.
But another one where it's like minus 205. Do I really want to get there?
I don't know. Maybe specific props.
Yeah.
Method of victories.
And then we get an amazing main event after a whole bunch of shit. We get a really nice main event.
I love this fight.
Yeah, you can start us off. I'll just intro it. So we've got Petr Yan coming in here off the back of that win, finally that due win against Song Yadong, which, my God, I don't know how I would have dealt with Petr Yan taking 4 losses on the trot and potentially getting punted from the UFC, because he is one of the best all-round fighters we have in the UFC still, even though he's 3-2 in his last 5. And then you've got David.
Like when he was the champion, I thought like no one could really beat him at some point.
Yeah, he's just got that style, man.
Yeah.
And then we've got Deiveison Figueredo, who's obviously had a lot of success moving up to bantamweight. He took on Rob Font. Rob Font was his first one there, and then Cody Garbrandt, and then he's just beaten Marlon Vera by decision. So 3 pretty impressive wins overall. Price-wise, we're dealing with Petr Yan sitting at minus 300 and Deiveison Figueredo plus 250 is the comeback. Lead us off, brother.
Yeah, mate. So we've got 2 former champions, former bantamweight champion in Petr Yan and former flyweight champion in Figueredo. So I'll start with Yan. After going 3 fights winless, which like hurt me like to see, he got finally back in the win column with Song Yadong this year. And Petr Yan has some of the best pure boxing in the UFC and probably the best striker in the bantamweight division, in my opinion. He's just so sharp when he gets his striking going. His counter game is lethal, and he will throw like quick hooks after he blocks with his high guard, and he continues like combinations from that, which involves like spinning attacks. You remember the ones against Corey Sandhagen?
Yep. Yeah. What did he do? Like spinning back fist into some kick or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was mad. And on top of his like prowess on the stand-up, he's like got pretty good takedown and defensive grappling. He's got a takedown defense of about 85% accuracy, and his offensive grappling is pretty good when he does use it. He typically will average 2 takedowns per fight. So early in the fight, he starts off slow, getting his reads. It's not like a Cheeto kind of slow. It's just he just keeps it conservative. And he comes forward with a high guard, very fast to get in and out of range with his feet, and he'll just incrementally pour on the volume and a variety of attacks as he gets his data. And he'll build on these boxing combos as the fight goes on, mix it up with kicks, and by the 4th and 5th rounds, if he hasn't already KO'd you, he's full on just playing with his full arsenal of weapons at that point. And he is also opportunistic. If opponents overcommit to strikes or just don't expect a takedown, he'll just like take him down. And Deiveison Figueredo, who's 5 years older, he is 3-0 in the bantamweight division, where the move up has very clearly like improved his cardio. He's implemented more dominant grappling. He's done more grappling in these 3 fights than like he has in like most of his flyweight run, and he's still got heaps of power, like despite like moving up. So he dominated Rob Font, submitted Garbrandt, and in his recent fight, he not only dominated Cheeto. Actually, no, he lost that 2nd round against Cheeto, I think.
I think it was 21-28.
Yeah, 21-28, but he dropped it. And Cheeto is a person with like someone that you looked at was undroppable, seeing as he took that massive knee from Sean O'Malley. In the stand-up, Figgy fights long in a wide stance, switching between orthodox and southpaw, very light on his feet, and he's very patient. But when he sees an opening, he'll just punch or kick hard with like fight-ending intentions. So like Yan, I feel Figueredo is very high IQ. If he feels leg kicks are open, he'll just keep going to the well there, and this will help set up higher attacks from that. And he also knows the threat of his power and explosions makes fighters like timid against him. That's like a part of his strength. So I've backed Figueredo to win in all of his bantamweight fights so far, and this will be the time I unfortunately fade him because I know Petr is a wide favorite in this fight, and he's been in the wrong end of split decisions. But I feel this is a good matchup for him. This fight is 5 rounds. I think Jan's boxing and counter striking will win him the majority of the exchanges on the feet, and his takedown defense and defensive grappling won't allow Figueredo to just secure the rounds the same way he did with Cheeto and Rob Font. Figueredo on the feet is either like slowly moving forward, pressuring his opponent, or like skirting around the outside of the cage at distance, allowing opponents to sort of lead the dance. But he's simply waiting for openings to show up, and Petr will either be setting traps, meet his attacks with counters, or will just use his quicker feet to get out of the way. Most fighters Figueredo has beaten tend to just worry about defending and getting out of the way of his combos, but guys like Brandon Moreno, who showed that if you stand your ground, stay in the pocket, and strike with him, that he is like Figueredo is very hittable, and I think Jan will be able to do this. Um, when Figueredo looks to take this to the ground, I just feel Jan's takedown defense will hold up here, especially in the early rounds when they're both fresh and later in the fight. I know Jan gave up 11 takedowns to Marab, but this was 11 takedowns out of 49 attempts. And
he was attached by his knob to his mouth that whole fight. It was
yeah,
fucking terrible.
And I believe he's only ever given up over 2 takedowns against 3 opponents. Aljo, Marab, and there was someone there. That was pretty early in his UFC run. But yeah, I'm going to take Jan here. I'm not going to play his money line, but I will have a look at his Petr Jan round 4-5 a decision.
Yeah.
And I may even look into seeing if I can get an angle on Petr Jan by TKO. Don't know.
I like it. I like your breakdown. I think you mentioned the thing that I thought was the most crucial point as well, and that it's that Figgy, where he's most dangerous, obviously his power. He's one of the most powerful strikes we've ever seen at flyweight. But you nailed it when you said that Jan's not going to be afraid to engage there. Like, he is so slick defensively that I think he'll be able to see these shots from Figgy coming, defensively either block them or, roll under and then counter off the back of that. He's just not going to, stand there and just absorb. He'll be looking of how he'll be instantly making reads on how he can see what Figgy wants to throw, either block, parry, fucking roll, whatever, and counter off the back of that. And I think you'll have huge success in boxing range. He's one of the most intelligent strikers we've seen in quite a while in terms of his whole game. Like, he's just so well rounded. The way he throws straight, the way he, his looping shots, like the technique he throws it with, the way he attacks both the head and body and the legs with the kicks. He can damage you everywhere, which you just love to see. In terms of volume, he's got massive volume. Like, he lands 5.14 strikes per minute compared to Figgy's 3. And while Figgy might have, more one-shot knockout power, I don't think that's necessarily translated to bantamweight as well. So I don't think Jan is going to have to. I don't think if Figgy touches him once on the chin, he's going to put him down. I think Jan is way better defensively, like I mentioned. Look, Figgy could have success grappling. Like, we've seen Jan struggle when people get to the back. Like, not so much struggle that they're instantly submitting him, but that they'll win minutes and he'll lose rounds there, which was against Aljo. But Aljo is one of the best back takers we've seen, and one of the most dangerous people when he gets the back. I think it's a pretty tough stylistic matchup for Figgy, if I'm honest. He's at a size disadvantage. He's versing a guy who has slicker boxing, slicker defense, slicker combinations, more volume, better takedown defense. It's like, what's the path to victory for Figgy here?
Yeah, that's what I couldn't figure out.
Maybe I think he wins the first round, probably at a pretty high clip. Look, the way I want to attack this is I want to live bet Petr Jan for sure, because he's pretty live to lose first rounds or like have competitive first rounds. And maybe the books will go, oh, fuck, he's lost round 1. Let's adjust him to like a minus 175 sort of price. That would be nice. I'd get in live on that, and I'd take that every day of the week because I think while he might lose round one, he's so calculated. Like he'll be making reads that whole round one, and he'll be going, "All right, Figgy wants to throw this, this, and this. I'm going to look to counter with this, this, and this." And I just think his volume will pick up late, and I think Figgy's will go the opposite way. And if he struggles to get if Figgy struggles to get the fight to the ground, I think Jan is going to have huge success 3, 4, 5 as well. That's what I wanted to do as well. I don't know what the price is going to be for 4-5 a decision, but definitely something that intrigues me also.
Yeah, I like that. 4-5 a decision.
Under 4.5 is plus 140. Over 4.5 is minus 170. So the books are favouring the over. Yarn TKO looks like it's sitting at about plus 200. So it's not a massive price.
I was expecting that to be a bit more.
Yeah, it's not an amazing price, but then
the distance.
He is a minus 300 favourite, so I guess it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you think you think Jan could probably TKO him late, maybe?
Yeah, that's what I was eyeing out. A late TKO. So I might even look at the round 3, 4, or 5, like the grouped TKO bets.
Yeah, I could see that too. I think just with the way Jan is so smart and calculated with the way he attacks, not just the head. Like he might not have success landing on Figgy's head, but he will torch Figgy's body up with body rips off combinations, and he'll also kick the legs and stuff like that. So all that sort of all those types of attacks really pay dividends in a 5-round fight if you get on them early. So even if it isn't a one-shot knockout, I think the accumulation of damage that Jan might be able to land on him over 25 minutes could see that late finish too. So I'm with you. I think that's a really good look.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And that's the card.
Yeah, mate.
We've done it. So let's quickly go through our picks, and then we need to do a parlay. I bloody forgot to make the graphic last week, but Weidman got scrapped anyway. So
what was the upper leg of that parlay?
Oh, it was the untrustworthy parlay. It would have lost. It was Mickey Gall, no doubt.
Did we?
We didn't put it on anyway.
Yeah, I think it might have been Jim Miller.
Was it Jim Miller?
Yeah, because I remember I think we were both keen on Weidman as a dog, and I was really keen on Miller as a dog.
Yeah, it might have been.
Veronica Hardy, like.
No. I played that separately. I didn't put that in the parlay. Well, have a think while we do this because we'll do a 2-leg parlay as well. And I'll actually make the graphic this week because I'll remember. Mahashate versus Motta.
If I had to, Mahashate.
I'm going to go Motta. Long Zhao Quang Li. Quang Li for me also. Loney Kavanagh, Jose Ochoa.
Kavanagh.
Yeah, Kavanagh for me too. Hernandez versus Tumendemberel. We've nailed that.
Tumendemberel. No, I'm joking. Carlos Hernandez.
Yep, Hernandez for me too. Xiaozhen Feng or Ming Shi.
Xiaozhen Feng.
Yep, Feng for me also. Kiru Sahota versus Dong Hoon Choi.
Dong Hoon Choi, bro. But
who?
Dong Hoon Choi.
Yeah. It's a horrific fight and a horrific pick. I'm going to go Sahota, but I don't care about it.
Yeah.
Su Young Yu versus Jenna Sully.
I'm trying to remember who's who. Su Young Yu.
Yeah, I sided with Su Young Yu too. Aussie Diaz versus Ming Yang Zhang. Yep, blockhead for me. Volkan Oezdemir versus Carlos Ulberg. Ulberg as well for me. Kong Wang, Gabriela Fernandez.
Kong Wang.
Line's wide, but Kong Wang.
Yep.
Song Kanan versus Muslim Salikov.
Muslim Salikov for me.
Yep, 40-year-old Russian Salikov for me too. Yan Xiaonan versus Tabitha Ricci.
Yan Xiaonan, but that's a medium confidence.
Yeah, I reckon Yan Xiaonan wins. And Peter Yan versus Deiveison Figueredo.
Peter Yan
for me too. All right, parlay boys, what are we doing?
Yeah,
This might be the worst parlay card I've ever seen in my life.
oh, for sure. Just a heads up for anyone that skipped to this section. Like, just because we picked these fighters to win doesn't mean to add them
To
to your
bet them.
leg parlay.
Yeah, correct. I wouldn't even. Honestly wouldn't parlay anyone on this card. I don't trust any of them.
There's nothing. This might honestly be my lowest volume card.
Yeah, if I have more than 3 or 4 bets on this card, I'll be shocked.
Yeah, like I know I have a 2-unit bet on Quang Lee.
Yeah.
But other than that, like there's just nothing that's
my bets. I reckon are going to be. I reckon I'll get to Modder. I don't know whether it'll be TKO or just probably just money line. I think that's wide. I feel like I have to play him. I'm definitely going to get to Quang Lee as well. I think Jiazheng Feng TKO, that price I talked about. I think that's massive.
100%.
I potentially might get to Su Young Yu, but other than that, I don't think there's anything. Oh, and Peter Yan late, but other than that, that's it.
Yeah, I'm going to look at Peter Yan round 4-5 at decision, and like maybe have a look at Peter Yan TKO props or Peter Yan round 3-4-5 grouped TKO.
Yeah, I like it. All right, well that's the card done. I guess before we sign off, the normal plug. So if you want to, Ryan, you want to plug yourself?
Yep. Just going on Twitter, type in Desperate Times Ryan, or my @ is Desperate Times 1.
Yep, you give away a bunch of free tips and stuff over there, and you're pretty engaging over there. Your Twitter's really good. I need to take a tip off you. So yeah, make sure you go over there and follow him. My Twitter is @ProvidePicks. There's Discord links and all that in the Twitter bio, but if you want NBA, I employ a bunch of different cappers that do soccer, NBA, esports, all sorts of different stuff. I do a couple of different sports myself. So if you want to get access to those, make sure you head to, it's in my Twitter bio, but you can head to wop.com/provide-picks and you can sign up there for a month or a week or whatever you prefer. Code PP40 will get you 40% off. So if you're tuning in and you want to get a discount, there's a code for you. But yeah, it looks like a pretty rough looking card, but I feel like it's normally these ones that give us some action. So it should be fun regardless.
Yep. And for Australians, it's 7 p.m.
Yeah, on a Saturday night, which is unusual, but it'll be a nice change, I think.
For sure.
All right, man. We'll sign off there. Thanks, everyone who's still here for tuning in. What do we have next week? Do you know?
I think a week off.
Next week's a week off?
Next week's the week off, and then I think that the 8th of December is 310.
Beautiful. All right. Well, so we won't see you guys next week. Maybe we'll do a Zoom and maybe we'll jump on a call and do something. We'll have a chat about it. But
it'll be good to get like 2 weeks in of like solid tape.
Yeah, true. Get a head start on that for sure.
UFC 310 and Tampa.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna land at a big bet.
Okay. Well, don't say it's Joaquin Buckley against Colby Covington.
It's Joaquin Buckley.
No. What's he paying? What's price they open you at?
Right now, minus 200.
Yeah, right.
And I think that's just going to keep going. Like it's going to go to a stupid number.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. But just remember, mate, raw American steel and twisted sex appeal.
I know, I'm going to wear my Kobe shirt for that breakdown, and I'm still going to predict.
You're a traitor, brother. All right, we'll sign off here. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll see you in 2 weeks anyway.